Alright, stick with me, we are about to watch this guy wake from a coma. Found 40 years in the future, but back then, Seo was a total monster. His squad was getting wiped out, so he charged in completely solo. Everyone was shaking in fear. He just smirked and told them to write a book about his epic legacy. Then, Seo sealed the entire zone with himself inside, spending decades fighting endless hordes of monsters. Fast forward 20 years, and he just wakes up in a hospital. Everything outside changed, but he hadn't aged a single day. When Seo checked his system status, total shock. On top of his old appraisal and throwing skills, he unlocked a wild new trait, immortality. Simply put, he is completely immune to dying in a new era where only raw power matters. Regular people going about their day had zero clue. They had no idea they weren't alone. One guy on the street literally bumps into a hooded figure, yelling at them to watch their step. A whole different civilization was actually thriving on Earth. Meet the Burer civilization, literal subhumans living deep underground. This hidden society, totally cut off from the surface world, suddenly burst out in a massive explosion. The Burer invasion hit fast, and absolute chaos broke loose. Humanity was suddenly staring down total extinction. The military fired back hard, but our normal weapons did absolutely nothing. These freaks used some kind of crazy mysterious energy to block everything. They completely tanked military-grade firepower. But wait, the tide was finally about to turn. The Bureau's strange energy actually mutated some humans, giving them insane abilities and turning them into Spurs. These superpowered fighters finally stepped up to smash the invaders. Now watch closely, because this is where everything changes. They cleared those underground dungeons one by one, bringing hope back until that final gate finally opened. Spring of 2005. The 7 strongest Spurs on Earth teamed up. They raided the final Bureau headquarters, crushing the dungeon and ending the long war. Thanks to that epic victory, the world worshipped them as the 7 heroes who saved everyone. They got the ultimate celebrity treatment, stepping from luxury limos into flashing cameras. The media and crowds went wild, showering these legends with massive wealth and crazy respect. But one guy, Xiamen Yeop, never made it back. The legendary leader didn't get to see his victory. Instead, they built a massive statue to honor his sacrifice. The surviving squad lived like rock stars, while the fallen leader turned into an absolute myth carved in stone. Fast forward 17 years. The announcer hypes up a super tense match at the International Battle Arena in Seoul. Team France was completely rushing the Korean squad. The Korean players literally could not even react in time. The caster screams out the name of the absolute menace, Nathan Bernard. He was completely wiping the floor with them. The French star tackled his rival right into the dirt. Nathan was solo carrying with 6 insane kills. A fan watching the stream couldn't believe his eyes, wondering if anyone this broken had ever played in the league. The casters were literally losing their minds. They called Nathan a top 3 Spur of the entire generation. Team Korea was basically one hit away from a wipeout. Their last player standing, Baek Haeun. Even with 0 odds of winning, Haeun rushed Nathan head-on. She cracked her signature whip, launching a totally fearless frontal attack right at his face. The crowd and her coach were sweating bullets watching this. She swung hard, but Nathan just smirked. He basically said, "Not bad for the daughter of a legendary 7 hero." But then he trash-talked, saying she could never carry such a garbage team. Boom, one brutal counterattack, and the French ace knocked her out cold. I know what you're thinking, Korean teams usually dominate, right? Not today. A total sweep. Nathan took MVP, while the crowd cried over their lost golden age of Spurs. Coach Baek Ya realized the harsh truth. Clearing old dungeons didn't matter if they couldn't adapt to the modern meta. This massive loss completely crushed his spirit. It was an absolute embarrassment for the nation that raised legends like Xiamen Yeop and Baek Ju. He gripped the railing hard, totally humiliated by the sweep. The casters didn't hold back, calling the gameplay straight-up pathetic against a strong roster. The fans were furious. Chat logs were exploding with pure rage over the terrible score. People started flaming the head coach online, totally furious. They asked why a former 7 hero didn't just step into the arena himself. The stadium booed loudly, screaming that Haeun was literally their only real player. One angry fan screamed he wanted a refund for this trash. Baek Ya, the veteran hero, stared at the empty gaming pods, feeling sick over the whole disaster. His 3rd official match running the national squad, another brutal defeat. Heian unplugged from the module, cutting her link to the digital warzone. She sighed, feeling like the fans treated the rest of the roster like garbage. She wondered if the legendary Iron Will of Korean Spurs was officially dead and gone. Stomping down the hall, the coach ranted about their weak mindset and trash mechanics. The real top tiers, they were already gone. Yeah, gone because they died fighting in the real wars. He froze right in the middle of the corridor, letting out a heavy sigh as he whispered Yeop's name. Ya stared up at a faded old picture hanging on the wall. He muttered how great it would be if his old rival survived. Suddenly, a staffer popped in, saying the press was waiting. The kid nervously reminded him that the reporters were getting restless. The coach groaned at the reality check, agreeing it was time to issue a public apology. He patted the kid's shoulder, joking that taking the blame was his only real job anyway. Ya turned back, bluntly admitting this current roster was a guaranteed loss. They had zero drive and absolutely no bite. His assistant tried to hype him up, claiming he barely started coaching and there was still time to rebuild. But the veteran shut that down, planning to resign right on live TV. He marched toward the exit, swearing that unless Xiaoman Yeop magically returned, winning was impossible, but if he quit now, the national squad was officially doomed. Still, the veteran told himself he had to take this chance to step down. He made his choice, it was definitely time to quit. But right then, his phone started buzzing like crazy in his jacket pocket. The caller ID showed the association president, and he braced himself for a brutal lecture. He picked up, and the boss immediately asked if he saw the breaking news. Ya sighed, admitting he watched his squad embarrass the whole country. But the boss yelled back, it wasn't about the game. So what did they find? Trust me, we are not ready. Stick with me here because we are diving into an absolute banger. From a portal in the sky, a guy straight up plummets, crashing into a packed square. Boom, the landing shakes the ground, totally freaking everyone out in Gwanghwamun Square. The crowd goes wild. Some armored dude just fell near the legendary statues of Admiral Yizhen Shin and King Sajang. The third statue, a hero who sacrificed everything. And sitting at the base of that exact broken statue, Xiaoman Yap himself. Phones are out, people are screaming his name. It is really him. The president yells over the phone, totally losing it. He is basically screaming at someone while honoring his legendary statue. The hero slowly looks up. Then the president drops the huge news, see Yap is alive. Flashback time. Yeop is totally solo, facing a massive army of shadow monsters. He blocks a crazy heavy attack with his shield, while countless enemies rush right at him. He braces for absolute chaos. The shadows glare at him, then charge. Right then, the huge dungeon doors slam totally shut behind him. Seeing the exit sealed tight, he is completely locked in. Solo against an entire monster army and their boss, he gets into his fighting stance. The dungeon boss watches from above, screaming for a death match. Then boom, a guy suddenly gasps and sits up in a hospital bed. He is panting hard, gripping the bed. A lady walks in, saying he is finally awake. Holding his pounding head, he begs to know his location. The nurse says he is in a hospital. Total confusion hits him. Then comes the biggest plot twist. It is 2021, not 2005. Totally freaking out, he yells that he entered the final dungeon back in 2005. She sighs, realizing he needs a serious history lesson. Now pay close attention here, because this is where his mind totally shatters. She turns to a live broadcast about Seomnam Yeop. The anchor announces the leader of the 7 heroes has returned after 17 years. They report he fell out of the sky, knocked out cold, but practically unhurt. Get this, he hasn't aged a single day in 17 years. The experts are completely baffled, blaming some crazy space-time distortion. As the broadcast wraps, he is totally stunned. 17 years. To his brain, 2005 was literally just days ago. The nurse nods, explaining that is why the outside is pure chaos. She points out the window, reporters have been hardcore camping since he dropped in. Staring at the media circus, he sighs. Even after almost 2 decades, some things never change. He begs for a mirror and she quickly grabs one for him. She hands it over. He stares at his reflection and realizes the news was absolutely right. 0 aging. He realizes no 47-year-old looks this fresh. Is this really his world? Then panic sets in. His eyes go wide as he frantically asks about his bank accounts. The nurse awkwardly explains his will donated every last penny to a children's charity. Absolute despair hits him. What about his house? Oh, it is now a literal museum named Saman Yeop's house. His sweet ride, sold at a charity auction. He is utterly broken. So basically, he cannot live in a museum, meaning he is totally homeless and broke. Sman Yap groans, wishing he hoarded a little cash for himself. The nurse quickly calms him down. Nobody is abandoning a hero. Plus, Mr. Bike Jijo already called the front desk. She says his buddy will arrive soon. He nods, and she steps out, reminding him to just ring the call bell if he needs absolutely anything. You and I both know this is insanely hard to process. He decides to grill Jay later, but first, time to check his own stats. He immediately fires up his scanner eyes. This broken ability made him top tier, letting him see the real stats of any target. It doesn't just show current power, but totally hidden potential that will unlock later. Thanks to this cheat skill, his growth speed was absolutely legendary. That let him lead massive raids super early. He remembers a young guy practically begging to be his disciple. That kid was Jay, future member of the Seven Heroes. At first scan, Yeop thought the guy was total trash, but quickly spotted his insanely high growth potential hidden underneath. He accepts him, warning that survival definitely isn't guaranteed, but the kid fiercely promises to give it his absolute all. Back to reality, he scans his own body. Strength, speed, totally unchanged. But wait, his mentality stat is suddenly sitting at 110. How is that even mathematically possible when the human limit is 100? Then he spots something way crazier. A brand new passive skill has unlocked, literal immortality. How did he score a god-tier skill like that? Powers usually unlock during extreme events, so he guesses that final boss fight must have triggered it. A sudden loud noise snaps him back to reality. He turns fast, hearing someone shout his name. Big JHO bursts through the door. Yeop stares at the old guy in shock, asking if it is really Jay crying hard. Jay confirms he is finally back. Yeop bluntly roasts him for getting way weaker. Wiping his face, Jay just laughs, blaming the long years of absolute peace. Up on the roof later, Yeop smirks, asking if the waterworks are done. Jay defends himself, saying wait till you are old, but Yeop just flexes that he is still young. Changing the subject, Yeop asks about their old promise. Jay looks clueless for a second, until Yeop brings up the biography. Suddenly, the memory completely clicks. Jay admits he hired a famous fantasy ghostwriter. Yeop jokes about hatching from an egg. Thanks to that book, a documentary, and a movie, he is basically a mythological god now. Even with trash pacing, all of it went insanely viral. That movie, an absolute global box office smash. Soap groans, asking why that matters. He thought he died in that dungeon, only to wake up 17 years later in a hospital bed. His brain works perfectly, but the reality is just brutal. The guy literally saved the entire planet and his reward, being totally homeless and dead broke. Jay reassures him, offering to fund him completely. Yeop smiles, asking if his student got rich over the years. So what do you and I take from this? Friendship pays off. Jiho explains he made serious cash from dungeon rewards. And honestly, a guy can only chill and eat so much. You and I both know this clueless guy would go bankrupt running a business. Jiho completely agrees, which is exactly why he hired a real professional to handle everything. Yeop asks if he's basically unemployed now. Jiho shoots that down instantly, claiming he actually has a real job. Curious, Yeop asks what he does. Jiho reveals he's a coach, the head coach of the national team. Yeop wonders why he whispered it and asks what kind of coach, but Jiho tells him to wait a sec. He pulls out his phone showing a live match and tells his buddy to watch. Yeop stares at the screen. He's totally confused, asking if those are the same dungeons they cleared before they vanished. But his buddy drops a bomb. It's a virtual reality sport called Battleground. Jiho explains that these virtual reality dungeons act as arenas where two teams clash for sport. Post-war, they recruited espers for this wild new business, turning it into the world's most popular game. Yeop laughs, calling it absolute child's play. But his friend shuts that down, saying it's hardcore because among the top-tier players out there, some could actually go toe-to-toe with the Seven Heroes. Plus, the World Cup ranking is pure national pride. So Yeop naturally asks where Korea ranks. Jiho freezes. He awkwardly asks if Yeop's going deaf in his old age to dodge the question. But Yeop pushes it. Korea had insane espers, so their rank should be totally stacked, right? Sweating bullets, he finally admits that Korea is dead last. Yeop is so stunned his cup literally drops. Now watch closely here. Heavy silence hits the room. Yop just stares and asks what happened. Basically, when a great evil vanishes, its conqueror becomes the new threat. Driving back, Yop turns to Jiho, demanding to know what that actually means. Jiho sighs, explaining that's exactly why their country became total garbage at Battleground. Making Yop say that makes zero sense. Then it clicks. After the war, the big shots got terrified of the Asper's power. Same old corrupt politicians, never changing. Jiho nods, saying that's why Battleground got heavily restricted. The government desperately wanted to leash every single elite Asper, himself included. Yop instantly connects the dots. He guesses all the heavy-hitting Korean Aspers just bylaid overseas to become athletes and coaches. Jiho laughs bitterly, confirming it. He wishes he had literally broken the legs of those corrupt scoundrels back then, but Yop quickly reminds his buddy that instead, he used his words to absolutely roast ministers and presidents, sick of them using people. Checking the rearview mirror. Jiho mentions Korea had to restart from zero, leaving their current roster super weak. He looks at Yop, about to pitch something, but gets an instant no. Jiho whines that he didn't even finish. But Yop already knows he wants him to join Battleground. Jiho frantically insists it's a massive waste for a guy in his absolute prime. Yop shuts it down. It's not a waste, and his life as an Asper officially died in that last dungeon. Jiho begs, saying it's literally just a sport now. Yop snaps back that he never felt a heroic duty anyway. Does he really look like a guy who bleeds for strangers? He admits that back in his youth. He fought purely to survive. After getting his powers, he just wanted some respect. Can a guy finally just live selfishly for once? He adds that the media would absolutely lose their minds. The world's savior returns to rescue Korea. The insane hype would be completely out of control. Jiho gives him a look, asking if he genuinely has zero interest in Battleground. Yop says yep, he hates it. It's basically a flashy circus. Sighing hard, Jiho accepts defeat, realizing he can't force it. Yop just watches him quietly, but then Jiho suddenly smirks, declaring that Korea's Aspers aren't totally hopeless just yet. Yop raises an eyebrow, asking what he means by that. Jiho proudly replies they still have Aspers like her. I know exactly what you're thinking right now. Yop sees a stunning girl on a huge billboard. Then Jiho casually drops the bomb, that's his daughter. Yop is totally shook, remembering her as a tiny 6-year-old. But Jiho quickly corrects him. Dude, 17 years passed, she's 23 now. Yop tries to smoothly play it off. Rambling about how pretty she is and how fast time flies, swearing he still sees her baby face. Jiho violently tells him to shut up, and Yop awkwardly apologizes. They drive off into the night. They finally pull up to a massive, super modern house. Jiho's wife, Siyun, rushes out the front door, emotionally calling out Yop's name. She warmly greets him, amazed he's finally back after so long. Yop smiles, joking that for him, it's only been a single week. He teases that he aged terribly for 1 week, making her crack up at his silly humor. She tells her hubby he must be exhausted from driving, but Jiho brushes it off, picking up a best bro he thought was dead for 17 years. Absolute minimum effort. Watching these two, the reality finally hits Yop like a truck. He actually survived. He's really back. A totally peaceful world with zero wars and zero death dungeons. Standing outside this cozy house, he genuinely wonders what to do with his life now. His big decision, pure laziness, he grabs the TV remote. Sprawled on the couch, Yop casually flips channels hoping for something good, until a specific show completely catches him off guard. He bolts upright, they're replaying the drama Stairs to Hell. He pumps his fists, absolutely hyped to see the ending. Screaming that this is it, he dramatically declares this is exactly why he survived. Jiho walks in just as Yop announces his grand master plan, aggressively binge-watching TV with endless snacks. He vows to consume every single show he missed since 2005. Jiho is completely mind-blown. He rushes over, asking if the legendary hero is seriously just gonna rot on the couch watching old soap operas. Yop smugly reminds him he promised he could do whatever he wanted. Jiho groans but rips open the curtains, revealing a mob of rabid reporters who have been camped out for days. Annoyed, Yop drags himself off the couch to peek outside. Right there on the other side of the glass is a massive swarm of flashing cameras. He groans, calling them absolute leeches. Realizing his lazy vacation is ruined, he officially gets up. Yop firmly orders Jiho to gather every single reporter for the very next day. His brilliant plan: get them all in one room just to tell them to get out of his life. Cut to the next day, in a massive building, cameras flash like crazy. Yop and Jiho casually stroll onto the stage. The buzzing reporters whisper about how insanely calm he looks, shocked the event got set up so fast. The announcer starts the event, and Yop grabs the mic. "Trust me, you're not gonna want to miss his next move. Stick with me here, guys." Yap tells the crowd he is back, and honestly, he is just as confused as they are about this whole crazy situation. Right next to him, Jaho looks super relieved. He actually thinks Yap is handling things perfectly. But nope, Yap keeps going. Yap flat out says he is not grateful. He tells the reporters to drop their questions and get out of his life. Jaho facepalms, realizing Yap has not changed, announcing they will just take questions one by one. When asked how he escaped the final dungeon, Sman Yap literally shrugs. He has no clue, saying he just randomly woke up in the hospital. He totally denies remembering the last 17 years. Zero contact with other heroes, and nope, he is not taking his old money back. Next question, he points straight at some reporter waving his hand. The guy asks if he knows about the game Battleground, and Yap confirms he does. Then the reporter hits him with the real question: does the legendary hero plan on becoming a pro player? The whole crowd immediately starts whispering about it. Jaho just stands there sweating, knowing this exact question was bound to pop up sooner or later. Yap bluntly shuts it down. Zero interest whatsoever. The reporter immediately pushes back, asking why not. Yap repeats that he does not care, but the guy tries provoking him, asking if the hero is lacking confidence. On screen, Yap points right at the dude and roasts him, saying the only thing lacking here is the reporter's hairline. He casually adds that Battleground looks boring, and he is not about to play clown for their entertainment. Yap says he hopes that satisfies their nosy curiosity, because he is done with the harassment. He drops a quick peace out and turns around. Jaho tries to thank the crowd, but somebody suddenly yells for them to wait. Now pay attention, because this is where the drama really kicks off. A reporter asks one last question, dropping the name Gerald Walker. He mentions this guy claims Yap is totally beneath his level, asking for a reaction. Yap goes completely silent for a second, then he just slowly repeats the name: Gerald Walker. The reporter hypes Walker up as a super famous American pro, literally called the pride of the tanker class. Yap just tilts his head and asks if this dude is the absolute strongest. But the guy admits nope, there is actually a top 3 above him: Nathan Bernard from France, Roy Mayer from Ireland, and Germany's Daniel Mance. The reporter scrambles to clarify that Walker is insanely skilled, just not top 3 tier. Sman Yap lets out a heavy sigh. Man, 17 whole years really did a number on things. Yap stares into the camera and tells Walker to drop the ego if he is not even a top 3 player. He adds a spicy warning: if this guy actually wants a real fight outside the game, he better fly over and face him in person. Yap points a finger, declaring he will literally bury the guy in his backyard. Cut to somewhere else. The whole broadcast is playing on a massive TV screen. Zachary Wood, the player agency CEO, asks Walker if he just heard that insane disrespect. Instantly, a hand completely crushes the remote. Walker growls Wood's name, absolutely seething. He barks an order to prep his private jet for Korea right now. Suddenly, an official United States vs. Korea match hits the news. On the phone, Jaho is panicking, asking how they could set this up so fast. Meanwhile, Yap is groaning about all the noise and kicks Jaho outside. Jaho just nervously agrees. Yap complains he could not hear his TV. He asks what is up, and Jaho nervously tells him about the big match happening in 2 weeks. Yap bluntly says he does not care. Jaho blames him for mentioning Gerald Walker. Hilariously, Yap just looks up and asks who that even is. Jaho sighs, reminding him that is the dude he threatened to bury in the backyard. Yap finally remembers. Jaho explains the guy is raging mad over the public humiliation, but Yap just calls the dude incredibly petty and soft. Jaho explains that since Walker cannot fight Yap directly, he is targeting the Korean team for revenge. Yap is super confused, wondering what the team has to do with him, calling Walker a total weirdo. Jaho just rubs his temples, completely stressed out. Yap tells his buddy to chill and cheer up, saying Walker can go have his little fun without him. Let's pause for a second, because here is the real kicker. Yap suddenly sits straight up, asking if Haein is going to be in this national team match. Meanwhile, Haein gets home and happily announces her arrival to her mom. Over on the couch, Yap suddenly jumps, completely startled. Her mom greets her, looking pretty surprised she is home so early. Haein says she basically sprinted over the second she heard Uncle Yap was visiting. She missed him. She eagerly asks where her uncle is hiding. Her mom points toward the living room. Yap awkwardly waves from the couch, and Haein locks eyes with him. Instantly, she sprints over and practically tackles him onto the cushions. He groans that she almost crushed his ribs, but Haein just smiles, so hyped that he is finally back. Yap gently pats her head, admitting he was actually scared she might have forgotten her old uncle. She laughs, swearing she never would, especially since he always sneaked her band candy. He says she grew up way too fast, and Haein proudly points out she is 23 now. She asks if he returned for the big official match. Yap shakes his head. Nope, he came strictly to see her. The match is whatever. She leans right in close on the couch for some serious talk. Then, Haein asks the million-dollar question, is it true he refuses to play Battleground? Yap asks if Jaho sent her to brainwash him. He brushes it off, saying he is not interested. Haein pushes for a reason, but Yap plays the busy card, claiming her uncle has way better stuff to do. She grabs his arm, asking if a gentle plea could work. He shuts it down instantly. Haein just pouts, claiming her uncle has really changed. Yap fires right back, saying they are the ones acting brand new. She turns away, whining he used to do anything she wanted. Yap laughs, reminding her that back then, she only ever asked for little snacks. Haein spins right back around. She begs him to tag along to her avatar verification down at the Pro League. Yap just looks confused, asking what the heck an avatar is. He glances at his TV, making it super clear he wants to stay glued to the couch. But Haein pleads, saying her dad is too busy to go. Defeated, Yap sighs, asking where they are heading. Smiling big, she says he will see. Soon, they arrive at the Korean Battleground Association and get greeted right at the main entrance. A staff guy tells them to follow him down this crazy high-tech hallway. Yap and Haein stroll quietly right behind the two association workers. One guy tells Haein they will start with her avatar verification, and she nods. The high-tech system boots up, fully scanning her weapons and armor to sync everything perfectly. Haein slides the VR helmet on and locks in the connection. Instantly, her avatar materializes inside the digital space. Up in the control room, Yap watches everything super closely, just like she asked. Inside the game world, she requests a practice monster to test her speed. Boom, a massive, terrifying wolf creature spawns right in front of her. Yap stares at the screen, totally stunned. The staff explains Battleground recreates absolute reality, so what do you and I think happens next? Trust me, it gets insane. Alright, stick with me here. Seomin Yeop notes the simulation feels incredibly real and decides to judge Haein's actual skills. The creature charges at lightning speed. It lunges right at her, but Haein readies her whip for a sweet counterattack, leaping up to dodge. Her whip instantly wraps around the monster's neck. With one massive yank, she launches it away, advancing with her sword and dagger. Then boom, she delivers a brutal strike, slicing the beast clean in half. Checking her work, the system chimes in, announcing the avatar sync verification is fully complete and the connection is closed. Haein flashes a huge smile. Logging out of the simulation, she runs straight to Seomin Yeop, eagerly asking how her performance was. He completely shoots her down, saying she has a really long way to go. Haein dares him to try, interrupting his excuses by demanding he just create an avatar first. She admits she's heard absolutely crazy rumors about his strength, but really wants to see it with her own eyes. She complains that when she was finally old enough to watch him fight, he had already vanished. She just glares at him. After a super long awkward pause, Seomin Yeop sighs and finally caves, doing one test run and making Haein ecstatic. A staff member walks up, double-checking if Seomin Yeop is taking the test too. The tech guy explains that under normal circumstances, they'd have to scan all his stats before launching the avatar test, but since this isn't an official match, they can totally bend the rules and jump straight to the action. Seomin Yeop asks to jump in as is. The guy points out he'd be completely empty-handed and wearing just a basic tracksuit. He suggests grabbing a weapon. Two guys visibly struggle to drag over a heavy spear and shield, but Seomin Yeop holds the gear easily, finding it super different and incredibly light. The staffer explains this is standard for battlefield gear. He just shrugs, says it's fine, and enters the test chamber. Now watch closely, here's where it gets wild. Seomin Yeop declares the spear is plenty and says to start. Inside the simulation, he prepares to enter the virtual dungeon and try it out. The system quickly scans his data, building his avatar from scratch. The staffer asks over the mic if he can hear him, as Seomin Yeop finally materializes inside a virtual replica room. He comments that the vibe feels exactly like stepping through real dungeon portals. The staffer confirms zero synchronization issues, and Heian loudly wishes him good luck. While stretching out, he casually requests a monster exactly like the one Heian fought. The tech guy agrees, clicks a button, and a giant beast starts materializing right in the arena. The massive creature spawns right in front of him, and Seomin Yeop immediately recognizes it as a Saliboon. He notes it looks slightly different, and the staffer explains it's a special variant that only takes damage from aura. He adds they literally used all available data to create the absolute strongest possible version of the monster. The mighty Saliboon charges straight at him, but Seomin Yeop easily dodges the brutal attack and just stares. Deciding the spear is basically useless trash, he tosses it aside. Squaring up, he launches one casual but devastating blow straight at the monster. Back in the control room, Heian and the tech guy watch the insane scene in total disbelief. The staffer stammers, asking if he seriously defeated the boss with a forehead flick, but Yeop completely downplays it. The tech guy stutters that Saliboons shouldn't drop that easily. Seomin Yeop casually demands they send in another opponent so he can test out a quick theory. A brand new beast spawns, and he thinks this environment is perfect for testing. He heavily complains the last monster couldn't even warm him up, asking if there's anything else he can fight. Suddenly, a voice speaking a foreign language calls him the best esper in the world. Seomin Yeop quickly turns around. In the control room, sirens start blaring. Everyone wonders what is happening, while the staff guy frantically smashes the keyboard, trying to control the situation. A huge red warning flashes on screen, reporting an unauthorized external connection attempt. Then, the control panel literally blasts the tech backward. Down in the arena, a badass warrior with an axe and shield steps right through the flames. Landing hard, he asks Seomin Yeop if that offer to fight is still valid. Seomin Yeop just glares in absolute silence. I know what you're thinking, is he scared? The warrior thinks so, provoking him and claiming he'll prove right here that the Seven Heroes title is just a totally meaningless label. The mystery warrior dashes at high speed towards Seomin Yeop. He literally just stands there, watching the attack. Boom, the strike slams into the dirt, causing a massive shockwave. With his shield broken, the confused warrior asks where his target went, until a voice behind him asks if he's scared. Seomin Yeop suddenly appears, smirking as he replies no. He states that this will finally be a decent test, and after grabbing his discarded spear, he gets into a proper fighting stance. The two titans glare across the dusty arena. Up in the control room, Heian panics, asking what's happening, but someone calmly tells her not to worry. The control room door swings wide open. Heian and the tech spin toward the entrance. Baek Jaho casually strolls in, informing them he authorized absolutely everything. So there's zero reason to worry. Heian recognizes him as the literal association president and calls him out, since he swore he would be way too busy. Baek Jaho explains they already planned this, but the local team missed the memo. Vice President Park Jint turns and asks Emma Moss if this data is enough. Emma Moss, Gerald Walker's manager, warmly thanks them for cooperating with this unusual request. A quick flashback shows Baek Jaho eating a massive feast right alongside Seomin Yeop. Park Jint watches closely. This crazy ambush opportunity might just spark Seomin Yeop's interest in Battlefield. Back in the arena, their weapons are an absolute blur. Seomin Yeop's spear violently clashes against Gerald Walker's axe. The shockwave is completely off the charts. Seomin Yeop slides backward, dragging his hand on the ground to stop, while Gerald preps another massive swing with his axe. Seomin Yeop eyes his opponent after that brutal attack. Locking on, he triggers his scanner eyes ability, bringing up an information screen loaded with Gerald Walker's data. The analysis proves the guy's strength and stamina are totally maxed out, a perfect tank roll. Seomin Yeop concludes this dude is built entirely different than he appears. Gerald Walker demands to know why he's just staring instead of actually fighting. Smirking, Seomin Yeop fully respects his insane strength. Thinking about the enemy's stats, he suddenly remembers the brand new ability he just unlocked. He decides it's time to test out that god-tier hospital power against this new adversary. Seomin Yeop charges with his spear. Trust me, you won't want to miss Gerald Walker's response. Alright, stick with me here. We are kicking things off with our MC, stopping his attack mere inches from his totally confused opponent's face. Seomin Yeop just stares at him point blank, then he smirks, promising to show him something fun. Boom! He punches the ground, completely shattering the arena. Up in the control room, Hee-in screams her uncle's name. Gerald Walker is stunned, wondering why on earth the guy just stood there. Gerald Walker thinks Seomin Yeop stopped his attack because he actually wanted to die. Yeop takes the hit directly, and a massive shockwave hits Gerald head-on. The sheer force throws Gerald completely backward. The arena floor cracks open with a massive crater. He is totally bewildered, thinking his opponent should be dead. Suddenly, someone coughs through the dust cloud, complaining about all the annoying smoke. Up in the control room, everyone is watching, completely lost for words. Gerald Walker looks back, thinking this is absolutely impossible. Seomin Yeop just casually walks out of the debris, asking how he liked that. He remembers he promised to show him something fun, revealing his insane immortality skill. Yeop smirks, asking if that wasn't the coolest thing ever, while his status screen literally pops up. Gerald Walker is freaking out, asking how he survived that direct hit. Yeop casually explains he got a brand new special ability after coming back to life. Becoming completely immortal, the test was a total success, but then Yeop realizes his wounds are instantly healing on their own, making the fight totally unfair. So he just calls up the control room guy, who nearly jumps out of his skin. He explains he literally cannot die thanks to a dungeon survival perk, leaving the poor staff member completely speechless. Yeop actually thinks it is too overpowered, asking if they can block it. The guy confirms it is super easy to do. Yeop tells him to turn off his immortality, and the staff member quickly clicks the panel to deactivate it. Gerald Walker hears the whole thing. Yeop shrugs, saying he just wanted to test out his shiny new skill for the very first time. Then he totally provokes him, saying he turned it off so Gerald could not use it as an excuse later. Now watch closely, this is where it gets real. Gerald tightens his grip, tossing his spear and shield straight onto the cracked floor. He growls that the rumors about Yeop's arrogance are totally true, but Yeop catches the spear midair, claiming he is way stronger than any stupid rumor. Gerald says he will be the judge of that, demanding he stand up for a real fight. Crouching down, Seomin Yeop just laughs and asks him, shouldn't he beat the top 3 fighters first? Yeop totally roasts him, saying he heard Gerald is not even ranked in the top 3 anywhere. Gerald charges in furiously, and Yeop jokes about hitting a nerve. The warrior jumps high into the air, and they start trading an insanely fast flurry of blows. The brutal clash between spear and axe just keeps going. Gerald lands hard on the ground, suddenly realizing his opponent has completely vanished from sight. Boom, Yeop drops right behind him, casually saying hello. Gerald spins around lightning fast, but Yeop already strikes over his shoulder with the spear tip. A direct hit right to the face. As Gerald is thrown backward through the air, Yeop readies his spear, impressed that the guy reacted so fast despite his blocked vision. But enough playing around, he decides it is time to end this. He focuses hard, and in one incredibly smooth motion. He hurls the spear at crazy speed. It violently smashes into Gerald's shield, exploding with massive force against the far wall of the entire arena. Yeop turns away with a massive smirk. Gerald hits the ground hard, leaning on his shield, realizing the spear changed direction at the last second. Absolute god-tier control. Seomin Yeop just throws his arms wide open, claiming an easy victory. But Gerald refuses to stay down, kneeling and yelling it is not over. He insists he missed on purpose. Yeop just stares at him, looking completely confused. Yeop sighs and tells him to ditch the massive shield and stop playing the typical tank. He admits he is only giving advice because that huge shield is blocking his vision. You caught that too, right? Gerald flinches, as Yeop figures out he only uses that giant shield to buy time to look around during a fight. But Yeop explains that kind of weak tactic is a massive disadvantage against true experts who will absolutely exploit it. So, he suggests dropping to a smaller shield for better long-term results. Gerald snaps back, asking if this is just a cruel joke, but Yeop brutally replies that even with tips, he would still lose. Gerald decides it honestly cannot hurt to try. In the control room, the whole crew is completely glued to the monitors watching this. Baekjae is losing his mind that Yop is literally coaching a top-tier enemy. Yop just turns around, saying his job is done and he has TV shows to catch. He looks back at a stunned Gerald and rubs his fingers together, demanding a consulting fee for the combat lesson. Gerald agrees, but on one serious condition. Yop pauses and asks what kind of crazy condition he wants. Gerald demands a completely fresh rematch at the official tournament in 2 weeks. Seomin Yop instantly shoots him down, saying he does not care about the battlefield or cash. Gerald desperately grabs him, offering literally anything, but Yop brushes him off. The warrior steps up, promising the next fight will be totally different. He begs Yop not to waste his insane power, but Yop says it is his life. The two guys just glare at each other in a super intense standoff. Meanwhile, the control room squad is sweating, just watching the drama unfold. Park Jin-tae watches all this in total silence. A sneaky smile creeps up. He is definitely going to use this wild situation for himself. Somewhere else, a lady is super invested in a TV drama. Yop is chilling on his couch doing the exact same thing, stressing over the characters. But suddenly, breaking news interrupts the broadcast. Yop bolts upright, super annoyed that they cut the show right at the ultimate cliffhanger. The news anchor announces Yop will skip the battlefield event, but his spicy chat with Gerald Walker might have just flipped the script entirely. He sits there totally confused as they show a leaked video from an anonymous snitch. The American team's wild demand is broadcasted to everyone, demanding a match if they beat Korea 11-0. So what do you and I think? Is our guy going to show up and totally wreck them? Stick with me here, we are jumping into some wild stuff. Surprised, he stands up, demanding to know when he ever agreed to this. Bam, the president's door flies open. A furious guy storms right in, demanding answers, and marches straight up to the desk of President Park Jin-tae. Another guy struggles to hold him back. He screams, demanding to know who dropped the anonymous tip, swearing he will crush them himself. Then, he shoves his phone video forward. Absolutely furious that they edited out the part where he rejected the offer, he promises to hunt down the leaker. The president stands up. Park Jin-tae gives a deep bow, apologizing to Somin Yeop for the whole mess, explaining he could not just ignore the American Association. He blames media pressure and their solid ties with Walker. Yeop kind of gets it, but he is still totally hesitating. Park Jin-tae pats his shoulder, telling him to chill out. He drops a bombshell. He actually cooked up a sneaky plan to keep him completely safe, slapping a crazy condition on his participation. If the American team wins with 0 casualties, then Somin Yeop will jump into a friendly match. He swears there is 0 risk since the Korean team is pretty weak. But Yeop totally explodes, shouting he hates the battlefield and asking why they keep annoying him. The president smirks, claiming that condition is basically impossible to pull off, which is exactly why everyone agreed. Park Jin-tae literally grabs Yeop by the collar, begging his old buddy for a solid favor. He promises every single penny of profit goes right to Yeop's favorite children's charity, pleading with him to try. Super annoyed, Yeop actually thinks about their long history together. He angrily agrees, warning this is a strict one-time deal. Park Jin-tae is thrilled and tries to kiss him, but Yeop violently shoves him away, totally grossed out. He then drops a strict rule: if any American players die, he is totally out. Park Jin-tae smiles, swearing to keep his word. With the drama over, the president invites them for a big dinner, offering to cover the entire check himself. He leads the way out, hyping up an awesome tuna sashimi spot, but right as he leaves. Now watch closely because things get super shady here. Park Jin-tae glances back, looking dead serious. His desk document shows Korea losing every set, a secret preemptive apology for lying. Meanwhile, a news anchor announces the Korean Association officially confirmed Somin Yeop accepted the US deal. On another channel, a host hypes up Yeop possibly hitting the battlefield. Breaking news flashes his participation in the massive rank-a match. Back at home, Yeop stares at the endless news coverage, super mad that it interrupted his favorite television show. He loudly grumbles that the old guy is way too much trouble, thinking he should just cut ties completely. He is absolutely fuming that breaking news about himself ruined his TV time. Walking to the window, he sighs about his awful luck. Suddenly, a weird noise outside completely grabs his attention. He leans over to check out the training yard. Someone zooms past a cone at lightning speed. It is a girl moving fast while a guy coaches her. Yeop watches closely as the guy chucks a heavy ball straight at her. She literally snatches it midair with her weapon. He realizes Hyun is grinding hard. Her dad, Big J, praises her sick reflexes, but warns she must get way faster to actually support the team. Yeop strolls over, joking that Big J is bullying her again. Then, boom, his scanner eyes activate. A sick HUD displays Hyun's stats, showing off her crazy teleportation and rope skills. Yeop's scan shows her agility is completely maxed out. He realizes her total potential is way lower than her dad's prime, meaning she will never hit those crazy expectations he has. But her stamina and strength could totally smash her dad's limits, making his speed training completely useless for her. Down below, a totally exhausted Hyun begs for a quick breather. You feel that tension. She turns, shocked to see Yeop, who bluntly tells her she would not survive a single American player. Staring her down, he listens as Hyun asks if he was watching. Yeop coldly replies she absolutely needs to stop wasting time on agility training. Big J pushes back, claiming she just needs a bit more hustle to level up. Yeop glares right at him, flat out saying Hyun is built completely different from him. He tells him to ditch the speed drills entirely, explaining her actual speed cap is way lower than his ever was. He brutally adds that both her agility and whip skills are already totally maxed out. Yeop drops the facts. She has speed, sure, but their physical builds are total opposites. Turning to a super curious Hyun, he asks her exactly what she does after trapping enemies with the whip. She says she would just trip them or toss them to the squad. Yeop shakes his head, dead wrong. He says she needs to finish the kill herself. He calls her dad's style totally useless for her, since nobody is around to score the actual takedown, grabbing her whip and her heavy sword right out of her hands. He says he will show them how easy it really is. Marching straight up to a training dummy, he throws the whip in one super fluid motion, trapping it. Once they're caught, you rush in. Boom! In a flash, he totally slices the training dummy clean in half with a massive sword swing. Looking back, he asks if they get it now. Dad and daughter are absolutely speechless, just staring. He makes it clear, a whip alone gets 0 kills, she needs raw strength and sword skills. Yeop shifts her into a close combat stance, asking if her dad finally gets it. He brutally suggests starting with 500 strength reps, leaving both of them completely jaw-dropped. Standing tall. He literally orders them to crank out those 500 reps right now. They only have 14 days left until the massive rank a showdown. Over at the US team hotel, Agent John Kim hypes up Gerald Walker for getting insanely stronger in just days. Walker asks if it is that obvious, and John absolutely confirms it. John admits he thought Walker was insane for swapping shields right after meeting Yeop, but after watching him grind all week, he totally changed his mind about it. So what do you and I take from all this? Risk it all. Walker finally found a way into the top 3. Sure, speedy opponents will be tough, but the long-term payoff is massive. Alright, stick with me, you and I are witnessing a massive upgrade. Walker asked the value of his skills, and John Kim guessed $10 million. He could easily bag that cash in his next contract if he mastered this fighting style. $10 million just kept ringing in his head. Catching Sam up on television, he demanded they wire him $10 million right away. His agent freaked out, but Walker called it a simple consulting fee. Reaching out, he promised to drag him straight into the war zone regardless. Touching the wall, he told Seminuk to just wait a bit longer. Boom, the action kicked off at the Seoul International Battle Stadium. The historic rank, a showdown between Korea and America, was finally happening. The broadcast duo went live, hyping up the insane crowd energy. One announcer declared that the ultimate dream match between Sam and Yeop and America ends today. Next up, they hyped the entire Korean squad stepping into the battle arena. The camera flashed over the stacked United States roster. Then, Baekhyun got introduced as the absolute close combat beast, an ace for Team Korea. Across the field, Gerald Walker stood tall as the American powerhouse tank. Seop watched closely while the announcers hyped up Hyun in her brand new role. The camera locked dead onto Sam and Yeop. The announcers revealed this match featured an ancient, creepy castle totally crawling with skeleton monsters. Floor 1, a brutal skeleton warrior boss. Pushing to the second floor meant going head-to-head with a terrifying Death Knight. And the final floor, Dragon Vaughn and a crazy lick. After a super quick rule breakdown for the newbies, the Korean squad marched into the zone. The American squad rolled in looking absolutely fierce. The commentators hyped up the epic clash, and then the announcer officially kicked off game number 1. Both squads blitzed the dungeon. Team America ran straight into a massive skeleton mob, and Walker stepped up to tank the incoming horde. Moving like a perfectly oiled machine, Walker absolutely smashed the first skeleton. The announcer pointed out that sure, the Americans moved a bit slow. But once they locked down a kill, their defense was a total brick wall. Hun gripped her weapon, totally ready to strike. While the American team methodically pushed, Team Korea went lightning fast. Suddenly, an announcer freaked out over their strategy. Watch closely because this gets wild. Team Korea literally ignored the skeletons, sprinting right past all the monsters. Baekjae watched his squad absolutely blitzing. He knew they just had to maintain speed, betting everything on this crazy rush to actually snatch a win. The announcer went nuts. Korea usually plays it safe and slow, but today they were aggressively rushing straight for the big boss. Huge risk, but insane reward with massive points. If they dropped the boss, Floor 1 would shut down in minutes, totally wrecking the American squad's entire battle strategy. Right then, the tracking map showed Team Korea reaching their target. They finally faced the skeleton warrior. Haein and Baekju geared up for absolute war. Meanwhile, an American player yelled for Walker to hold up because things just got crazy. As Korea squared up with the boss, Walker asked Paulward for the scouting report. He needed to know exactly what this unexpected wrench was. The scout confirmed Korea was already engaging the Floor 1 boss. Faced with this crazy tactic, someone suggested sprinting to the second level before lockdown. But Walker instantly canceled their hunt to crash the boss fight. Turning to his teammate, he admitted he lacked speed and totally needed to borrow her superfast ability. Team Korea almost had the skeleton warrior beat. They pushed forward, totally trusting Haein for the finish. The captain shouted to hold the line and cover her jump. But suddenly, a massive blur shot toward her at warp speed. She had zero time to even blink. I know you felt that hit. Walker absolutely bulldozed her out of nowhere, leaving the Korean squad in pure shock. Baek Jaho realized Walker weaponized a teammate's skill just to launch himself like a missile. The brutal impact crushed Khan against the wall, instantly triggering her death notification. Walker coolly admitted their boss rush strategy wasn't terrible, but he promised that even if their little plan worked, the final result was always gonna be exactly the same. The rest of the American powerhouse squad rolled up behind the skeleton warrior, immediately unleashing hell on the weakened boss. Ding, the system announced the boss was dead, locking down the floor in 10 minutes. With a smirk, Walker decided it was time to finish this game completely. Team America charged forward, mercilessly attacking the leftover Korean players. The announcer was going absolutely crazy. Shouting that the Americans wiped them out in a flash, Team Korea lost the boss, facing an absolute total wipeout. Walker readied his ultimate finishing strike. The final Korean player laid helpless on the dirt before Walker easily secured that last brutal kill. The scoreboard flashed an absolutely perfect 11-0 sweep for the American team. Down the hallway, Haein walked away, feeling completely crushed by another brutal loss. She stopped at a door, beating herself up over the total wipeout. Peeking inside, she felt awful about doing 0 damage despite her uncle's epic help. Suddenly, a guy demanded the room's attention. Haein just stared, completely bewildered by the interruption. Samuna stepped up, admitting that while watching that massacre. His eyes practically bulged out of his skull, so they seriously needed his advice. One player tried defending Coach Baekjae, but he instantly told him to shut up. Yap explained he was stepping in. At this rate, he would literally have to join the team to carry them. He pushed forward, brutally pointing out they tried a high-tier strategy with 0 actual skill. He straight up roasted their power levels, declaring their current chance of winning was a flat 0%. But quitting without a fight, totally pathetic. So instead, he promised to teach this rookie squad exactly how to finally destroy Walker. Salmon kicked things off, explaining that Martha Bourne's palace was actually a brutal dungeon. He and the association director totally wrecked back in their youth. So what do we think? He says it's easy, but those third-level skeletons are gonna be a nightmare. Let's dive right into this mess, guys. With their current skill level, reaching the finals would take an absolute miracle. So, he tells them to focus on their recent brutal loss admitting their first set strategy actually wasn't half bad. That is, assuming they could actually pull off the basic tasks. Pointing straight at the squad, he breaks down the frontline vanguard positions. He rips into the team for rushing the boss room without even scouting the enemy. The backline support should have instantly provided cover when the vanguard collapsed. But instead, everyone totally froze the second Heian got wiped out by Walker. The reason they kept losing 11-0 was because they literally ignored the basics. Shaking his head, he calls it unbelievable that they are the actual national team. He pities JOP, then turns around. Stating there is absolutely nothing left to say about that tragic first set. Cutting to the chase, he drops the master plan for round 2, and just like that, the second set kicks off. Right out the gate, the American squad charges forward, splitting into 2 units. They run a 6-5 formation, sending the faster crew to lock down the hunting grounds. Walker takes charge of Group 2, strictly hunting. This wild strategy completely maximizes the insane abilities of their ace players. Up in the stands, the crowd gasps at the Korean team's move. The announcer points out that Baek Haein suddenly vanished, then popped right back. Next up, the whole Korean squad starts sprinting through the dungeon again. Commentators are super confused by this aggressive new tactic, since Korea usually plays heavy defense, highlighting Haein's crazy unexpected position change. Saman Yeop sits back smiling, saying they are doing great. He watches closely, knowing this wild plan only works if they follow his exact orders. Watch closely now. Haein pushes forward, ready to guarantee a massive success this time. An American vanguard player stops at a blind corner to scout. He tells Walker the Korean squad is nowhere in sight. Because this dungeon is a straight line, he assumes. The Korean team is saving their energy for the late game. To Walker, it is totally obvious they panicked and flipped their game plan after that first set disaster. He stands his ground. He knows that if this keeps up, Soman Yop stepping into the arena is just a matter of time. Boom, something violently shatters right behind Walker. He spins around, totally shocked by the noise. Then, a massive, screen-shaking explosion completely blows out the dungeon wall. Out of the flying debris, the whole Korean squad bursts through. They land and instantly box in the American team. The Americans are totally stunned, leaving Walker clueless about how they flanked them. Flashback time, Saman Yap sends the scouts, making the lightning-fast Hun check the enemy setup. He drops another rule, absolutely 0 monster or boss kills if Walker's crew has less than 5 players in their group. Leaving the team completely shocked, everyone thinks Martha Bourne's palace is just a single path, right, wrong. He reveals a super-secret passage hiding a straight-up teleportation point. Perfect for ambushes, and he orders Haein to take it. The entrance looks normal, but Seoman Yeop promises to guide them right to it. Using that route, they could flank the American squad without making a single sound. He commands all 11 players to rush that path and jump the divided American hunters. Back to the present, the Koreans charge out from the smoke. You saw that coming, right? They completely blindside the American rear. Haein drops down, perfectly remembering Seaman Yeop's one crystal-clear rule for fighting Walker. Aim straight for the legs. In a flashback, Haein questions this wild tactic, but Yeop explains the current setup weakens his lower half. Swapping to a smaller shield leaves unprotected space. And he still doesn't seem fully used to it, the heavy pressure of 0 casualties. The massive ambush, and fighting in a spur will definitely rattle the American team. Seoman Yeop then asks them to just trust and follow his instructions. Back in the action, Haein silently thanks her uncle. The Koreans rush in before the Americans can even form up, and Haein gets a massive buff. A teammate channels raw energy straight into her. She blitzes right at Walker, but this absolute beast blocks it and instantly wipes out 2 Korean players. But wait, Walker suddenly realizes she just blinked right past him. Her actual target, the American backline support, taking a brutal hit from behind. A system alert confirms Baek Haein bagged 2 kills. Walker realizes the backline was the real prey all along. Furious, he crushes another Korean player. Grabbing his 3rd kill, Walker screams for his vanguard to fall back immediately. It is now a 3 versus 8 setup, since the vanguard needs time to run back. But Walker calls them easy prey and just swings his massive axe. He hits a crazy spin attack, instantly securing kill number 4. Han charges his blind spot. He turns, completely shocked that she isn't there. Boom, she pops up from below, slashing his leg hard. He stumbles back as Hayan slides away, leaving Walker totally collapsing to his knees. The Americans held the line, until someone caught a nasty blindside hit. The Korean squad heavily abused their numbers advantage, sacrificing 7 players just to wipe 3 Americans. A Korean player walks up to the grounded Walker, who asks if Sam Yeop trained her. Spotting the crazy shift in her style, she aims her blade at him. Glaring back, Walker admits it is seriously impressive. The arena absolutely explodes over this epic comeback. The board shows Korea racked up 5 American eliminations. Baek just sits in totally shocked silence. Shaman Yeop chills in his seat, smirking. He asks if he caught that insane play, promising he is gonna help him take down Walker. Announcers are hyping up this unbelievable performance from Korea. But man, total bummer, the match ends with the Americans taking the win, 2-0. One caster sighs, saying if Korea hadn't bumped into the returning Americans, things would have been way crazier. Walker just stares at the scoreboard, analyzing Korea's wild performance. He checks out the round 2 stats. Even against a monstrous American roster, the Korean squad still managed to pull off 5 insane kills. The casters totally agree. The absolute highlight was Korea bursting straight through that dungeon wall like a wrecking ball. That's where we leave it, folks. The MVP of this wild comeback, one girl carrying the team with 4 of their 5 total kills. Let's dive right in. You and I are watching the crowd go absolutely wild for the Korean team's ace, Baek Hayan. The sports anchor steps up, asking Coach Baek Ju for his thoughts. She mentions the national squad looked totally different this time. He admits that even though they lost, it was a huge learning moment and serious fuel for their future. Then, the reporter grills him. How exactly did he come up with that legendary second set strategy using the hidden passage? Baek Ju agrees it was a genius move, especially since that dungeon supposedly had just one route. But then he looks away, finally dropping the real truth. Someone else gave them that strategy. Watching the broadcast from a distance, Seomin Yeop grumbles. He is super annoyed that Baek Ju is still trying to recruit him. He knows the coach will not drop it. Meanwhile, Hayan steps up to the mic. The reporter hypes her up as the top player and asks what her training secret is. She totally gives credit to her uncle. She says he has been coaching her non-stop, and changing positions was his idea. Seomin Yeop just watches this unfold, letting out a frustrated sigh. Why are both father and daughter name-dropping him? Whatever, he figures it does not matter since it is true. Park Jin-tae rolls up, joking that Yeop still gets cranky when he is blushing. Annoyed, Yeop points at the screen, asking why the association president is not over there instead. Jin-tae smirks, saying he prefers letting others take the spotlight. When Yeop demands to know what he wants, Jin-tae claims he is just here for the good old nostalgia. After all, only they knew about that hidden route. Yeop confesses he totally planned that strategy, but admits using a secret tunnel in a real match feels super cheap. He explains he relied on a safer tactic instead of going full guerrilla mode, just to avoid actually playing. Jin-tae mentions he heard Yeop helped Hayan unlock her true talent. Yeop just brushes it off, saying that is honestly old news. Standing up, the president admits it was awesome seeing Yeop's tactics live again, adding his skills are too epic to bench. Yeop nods, smugly agreeing that he is incredible. So Jin-tae asks why not flex that talent a bit more. Yeop looks confused. What is he talking about? He already won their bet. Now pay attention, this is where things get interesting. The president makes one last request, promising to never bother him again, then drops a bomb. The pro league starts soon. Yeop squints. Is he seriously asking him to go pro? Jin-tae waves his hands, denying it immediately, saying he is not crazy enough to demand that. He just wants to throw a massive charity match packed with famous players right before the season, and he really needs Yeop in the lineup. Jin-tae fully expects a hard no, but Yeop actually says he will think about it. That totally blows the president's mind. The shock is real, because Yeop literally never agrees to things he hates. Still, Jin-tae figures it is not a massive deal yet. Yeop admits watching Hayan fight sparked something in him. Television shows are fun and all, but they do not hit like a real fight. With dungeons gone, the arena is his only option. Jin-tae gets totally hyped up, roughing up Yeop's hair and yelling that this is the spirit. He shoves his phone in Yeop's face. The rank a match just smashed past 10 million views in an hour. Fans are going absolutely crazy, hyping up the entire Korean team, Hayan and even Yeop. Yeop instantly gets annoyed, telling the guy to chill out. He backs off, complaining about the president's ridiculous strength while Jintai awkwardly apologizes. Yeop sets the record straight. He has not actually agreed to play yet, but Jintai is still completely beaming. Saying it is a miracle he is even thinking about it. Yeop narrows his eyes, pointing out that throwing a random charity match right before the Pro League starts is insanely suspicious. Jintai sweats, knowing he got caught red-handed. Yeop crosses his arms and drops the hammer. If he fights, there are strict conditions. You saw that coming, right? Jintai locks eyes with him, desperate, and basically hands over a blank check. If Yeop plays, he gets whatever he asks for. Flashing a wicked smile, Yeop locks in the deal. Cut to the training room, where Baekju stomps over, clutching his sword. He marches straight up to Yeop, who is casually resting a spear on his shoulders. Baekju demands answers, and Yeop casually drops that his crazy demands were met. So yep, he is joining the big game. He vents that he got a whole second chance at life, and all he wanted was to binge television shows. Baekju inches closer. Yeop sighs, admitting that if he is actually doing this, he at least needs a proper warm-up. Yeop totally roasts the national team's sloppy routines, making Baekju awkwardly apologize. The coach is so confused, wondering why he is getting dragged into Yeop's massive comeback tour. Yeop smirks, no way is he suffering alone. Plus, aside from Haein, everyone else is pure garbage. The coach begs to sit out, whining that it has been 17 long years since his last real battle. Yeop just pats his back, promising to beat him back into prime shape. Groaning internally, Baekju has no choice but to trust his buddy. Yeop literally activates his scanner eyes, breaking down Baekju's current stats, even though the guy is super rusty from slacking off. Bouncing back to top tier should be a total breeze, flashing a terrifying grin. Yeop promises literal hellish boot camp starts tomorrow. Baekju knows his life is over. Flashback time, Yeop drops his two absolute conditions on Jintai. Number 1, he teams up with Haein. Number 2, Baekju has to fight too. The president does the math, 2 legendary heroes means crazy sponsor money. He grabs his phone, calling in a massive favor. Soon, the epic news of Yeop Baekju and Haein officially joining the massive charity match breaks the internet, and the countdown officially drops. Meanwhile, Yeop explains his sneaky tricks only work if he outspeeds his enemies. His sparring partner scolds him for relying on cheap tricks, but Yeop just shrugs, agreeing to bump up his speed, dropping into his stance. The guy gets ready to strike. He lunges straight at Yeop, blade swinging wild. Yeop backflips to dodge the heavy slash, instantly throwing up his shield to block. The attacker just keeps unleashing massive combo strikes. When the crazy session ends, he asks how Yeop is holding up. Yeop grins, saying he feels alive. The guy groans that it has been 17 years and begs for a break. Honestly, making a comeback at this age, you and I both know that is going to be wild. Alright, stick with me, we are about to watch an absolute powerhouse of a training session. Yeop called it a basic warm-up, telling the guy to quit whining, but he shot back that they had been grinding for 8 hours. Dude just wanted his TV show. He reminded Yeop he wasn't built like before and desperately needed some rest. But Seaman Yeop brushed it off. He had a major appointment to catch, meaning no TV time anyway. Their target, the massive, intimidating headquarters of the Korean Battlefield Association. Inside, Yoo Hyunu, the technical manager, welcomed them in, confirming that Seaman Yeop was completely ready for his highly anticipated avatar test. Hyunu introduced Mr. Brown Tenor from the World Battlefield Association, the guy overseeing today's entire process. But before kicking things off, Yeop threw his hand up with a quick question. Why even do more testing? Well, Hyunu explained he had totally skipped the physical exams and jumped straight into the avatar creation phase. To avoid any glitching with the avatar, they needed precise, hardcore data on his physical stats. Yeop was genuinely blown away by how accurate this tech was. Hyunu hyped it up, saying the system literally scans a player's whole body and mirrors it perfectly in-game. It could even unlock hidden Asper abilities the user didn't even know they had. Yeop thought that was super cool. Then Hyunu dropped a lore bomb. The battlefield system held crazy secrets, actually forged from one specific person's Asper powers. Sounded super sketchy to Yeop, so he straight up accused them of acting like the Bureaus. He even asked if the Bureaus were secretly running the World Battlefield Association. But Yoo Hyunu quickly denied it, Xiamen Yayup then fired back, saying if that was true, he wished they would show up right now. A totally flustered Hyunu quickly shoved them toward the testing area. In the new room, Hyunu announced they would be checking strength, agility, and aura levels. They told him to go absolutely all out. Getting an accurate reading was critical for perfectly syncing with his badass avatar. Now watch this is where things get wild. The first test was raw strength, so Yayup stepped up to the machine, grabbed the lever and began. He yanked that lever with every ounce of his power. It slipped right out of his grip as the machine crunched the numbers. Flashing 8,113, they told him to try again. 2 more tries got him between 819 and 817. Checking out his own stats, he realized this matched up perfectly with a base strength level of 79. When Yayup asked what was up next, Hyunu mentioned his strength was basically average for a hero. Now it was time to put his raw agility to the test. Meaning he had to rapidly smash 2 wall switches back and forth until the buzzer sounded. Getting into his stance, Yayup enthusiastically accepted the challenge. Total focus kicked in instantly. He was a blur, darting side to side and slapping the switches. The team was stunned. Hyunu couldn't believe a heavy tanker possessed such insane speed. The timer buzzed, and he halted dead center in the room. Yayup casually asked for his results, and found out he dropped a wild score of 963. He figured with a little extra juice, he could easily break 970, so he ran it back. Round 2 ended, and boom, the screen flashed 971. Jaws dropped as the staff realized he actually shattered the 970 barrier. Curious, Yayup turned and asked them about the all-time highest record. Hyunu revealed a team member once hit 107, making Yayup wonder if it was the legendary Nathan Bernard. He mentioned that he actually knew him from some hype videos Baek Ju sent over right before the charity event. Yayup was super curious since Nathan had the crazy, god-tier speed to truly rival peak JHO. Because hitting a flat 100 agility points is incredibly rare. Snapping his fingers, he decided to give it just one more shot. Targeting a solid 975 this time, he planted his feet right in the middle. He closed his eyes, dialing in his absolute focus. Honestly, something about today just felt different. He was in peak condition. The buzzer went off, his eyes glowed with intensity, and he violently smashed the very first switch. You saw that blur, right? Absolutely insane. He darted between targets at lightning speed, leaving spectators completely speechless before coming to a sudden dead stop. He was panting hard as the test wrapped up. While the staff scrambled to double-check the impossible numbers, Hyunu stood there questioning reality. Gasping for air, Yayup asked for the damage, knowing he went way faster. Boom, 107 popped up, perfectly tying Nathan's record as the fastest Esper alive. Wait, how did he tie that? His base agility was 97, just a notch below those legends. Yayup realized he had somehow shattered his own physical limits in that brief moment. Needing to test a wild theory, he asked for one final strength check. Using the exact same machine, he got into the zone and prepared to unleash everything. He gripped the lever and ripped it back with unbelievable power. The lab guys gasped out loud when his score completely spiked. Asking for the tally, he saw an 890 glowing back at him, a massive upgrade from his earlier runs. When they joked about him finally warming up, he just said his focus was sharper. Staring at his own fist, he wondered if he actually leveled up past his own natural limits. But he quickly brushed it off. Checking with his scanner eyes, his base stats hadn't changed at all. Still, something deep inside definitely felt different. This heavy feeling, totally familiar. It triggered an old memory. He had felt this exact same rush fighting solo in that brutal final dungeon. Staring death in the face gave him literal superhuman focus. Pushing his mind beyond human boundaries somehow acted like a massive buff to his other stats. Proving that pure mental drive works like magic. But honestly, it bummed him out. Having 0 real battles left made all this epic focus and immortality feel totally useless. It honestly felt like the universe was dragging him back to the front lines. Finally, they moved to the aura test, telling him to focus on a fancy marble sphere. Resting his palms on it, he thought it was pretty neat, since back in the day, they could only guess aura levels from weapons. Hyunu chimed in, saying because aura is tied to pure innate talent, this test is the ultimate benchmark for scouting new, top-tier rookies. Yayup remembered awakening his scanner eyes with a 96 aura, grinding like crazy just to unlock those final, stubborn 4 points. He hovered his hand over the sphere. The staff went silent, sweating as they wondered just how high his power would truly spike. And that's where we leave it. Channeling his maxed out 100 aura into the object, he hit the absolute ceiling of human power. The test finishes, and the sphere changes color. The brown tenor reacts in pure shock. The screen flashes an insane score of 1030. Xiaomomen Yap casually asks about his score. Hyunu stammers, completely mind-blown, explaining he just smashed the all-time human record. The observers go absolutely crazy over the news. Stick with me here, we're witnessing an epic flex. Smiling, Soman Yeop gives a thumbs up and asks who they think he is. Yu Hunu mentions the old record belonged to Sulan, one of his own fellow 7 heroes. Yeop is genuinely surprised. Hunu admits he never expected anyone to beat it, though he acknowledges that girl packed a seriously massive aura. He remembers that even though Chulan had weak mental strength, her ego was massive, meaning they fought constantly. With that, the test wraps up. But wait, Hunu says there's one more thing to cover. Xiaoman Yop asks what it is. They are banning his immortality skill in matches. He expected this, since it is basically a cheat code for instant wins. The association apologizes and offers a cash payout. But he brushes it off, saying he really does not care. He takes the cash, dropping a massive flex. He does not even need his immortality anymore. Cut to somewhere else. A crazy cult leader hypes up a crowd, screaming that a certain someone will save them. He claims a miracle proving their faith just dropped. Holding up a document, he demands his followers look at their god. It is a newspaper article about Sumaup's immortality, literally calling him their ultimate savior. Now pay attention to this part. The crowd goes totally feral, screaming Sumaup's name. Outside, he casually steps out to find a massive sea of hooded figures waiting for him. Salman Yap turns, totally confused, and asks who these weirdos are. In response, the crowd chants his name. They hail him as the hero destined to save the world. His buddy explains this is the Xiaomen Foundation, a literal cult that worships him like a god. Yop repeats the name, scratching his head. Then it clicks, he saw these guys lurking outside the hospital. His companion nods, confirming it. The guy explains their wild theory. The world is ending again, and Yap will save the chosen few. Salman Yap flat out calls them lunatics. But his buddy admits he thought the same thing, until Yap literally came back from the dead. Now these cultists wander around thrilled, just waiting for the apocalypse. Annoyed, Yap decides to teach these freaks a lesson. His buddy tries holding him back, but Yap completely ignores him. With a massive leap, he lands on a high wall. Using his boss voice, he screams at them to shut up. The crowd ignores him, begging for salvation. Furious, he yells again, asking if they are completely deaf. Finally, dead silence drops over the area. He smirks, noting they are quiet now. He tells the crowd he totally gets why they are so obsessed with him, which instantly makes them scream savior all over again. Som Yeop points right at them, ordering the lunatics to drop the nonsense and get out of his sight. The cultists gasp in pure shock. He roasts them, asking if they do not have day jobs. He then demands to see their leader, heavily threatening to beat him down. The crowd starts whispering. They actually think the savior is pushing them away to test their faith. Fired up, they all decide to prove their devotion. Xiaoman Yeop stands there totally confused as the entire mob starts chanting his name in unison. He stares down, seriously wondering what is wrong with these weirdos. Watching from the sidelines, his buddy realizes things are about to get really ugly. Let's be real, peaceful exits aren't his style. Ye gives them a 10-second warning, then charges straight into the mob while his panicked buddy screams at him to chill. Boom, dozens of cult members are knocked out cold. Chilling on a literal mountain of bodies, he grabs a young boy and asks if he will keep stalking him. But the kid cries, swearing he is done. Yap casually tells him to ignore these crazy people and watch his step, before leaping off the human mountain himself. Dusting off his hands, he announces he is finished and it is back to training. His buddy calls out, and Seaman Yop turns around to see what he wants. His buddy sighs, calling Saman Yeop the most insane guy alive. Yeop just says thanks, pointing at the cultists as the real crazy ones, worried about the press returning. His companion begs him to go inside, but Yop just shrugs. If reporters come, he will beat them up too. The elder warns that violence only draws a bigger crowd. But Som Yeop smirks, revealing that is exactly how he handled those creepy stalkers digging into his past at the orphanage. Meanwhile, one of the cultists he punched is literally flying through the sky, wondering if Yap really is the chosen one. Down below, Yap groans, totally annoyed by how nosy everyone is, and his buddy agrees. Suddenly, Yap freezes. His friend asks what is wrong, right as strange energy pulses from a distant building. Soman Yap brushes it off as nothing. Boom, we fast forward straight to the day of the huge charity match at Incheon International Airport. Joe Fellman, the top American field agent, arrives and causes an absolute riot. The crowd goes wild, realizing mega VIPs are flying in for Sman Yap's big match. Fellman smirks, noting it has been 15 years since his last trip. He brags the US agency only became the best by recruiting all the top Korean aspers. His assistant sighs over losing Mr. Beck, an absolute diamond. But Fellman notes that initially, none of the legendary 7 heroes even cared about the battlefield. She adds that young Zealand showed some spark, but totally quit when her Esper powers got nerfed. Fellman nods, remembering how the leaked footage of Julin's Avatar test totally shook the world. Seriously, her max power extinction ray could have ended an 11-on-11 match in exactly 3 seconds. Clenching his fist, he vows that with Earth's strongest Esper around, he absolutely will not fail to recruit Simon Yap. Suddenly, his assistant cuts him off, pointing at a swarm of reporters rushing right at them. But Joe Fellman's eyes lock onto someone else. Jake Rand, the slick European field agent, swaggers into the airport, and Fellman recognizes his rival instantly. Rand strolls up to greet Joe Fellman. He smirks, jokingly suggesting they actually play fair and square for once. But Fellman knows that is a total lie. Flashbulbs go off as tension explodes between the two rivals, with Fellman swearing nobody is stealing his prize. Meanwhile, 2 mysterious guys are watching from the shadows. One mutters that the very guy who wrecked their shady dungeon business is now stepping onto the battlefield. And that's where we leave it. We both know the Paris Lumiere Club's Morrow brothers won't ignore Seaman Yap. Let's jump into the madness. 3 rival groups stare each other down in the airport lobby. They want our guy's signature, and absolutely nobody is backing down. The tension, so thick you could cut it, they refuse to let Som Yap slip away. But then clack clack, high heels echo through the terminal. Everyone freezes. The untouchable big shot, an actual walking tactical weapon, just made her grand entrance. It's Suan, the youngest of the 7 legendary heroes. She announces she's here to track down a certain boy. Meanwhile, at the arena, fireworks light up the sky over a massive, jam-packed crowd. Inside, pure chaos. One spectator casually jokes about the population barely dropping during the war. His buddy snaps at him, but the guy literally could not care less. He gets warned to watch his mouth at such a huge event. Cut to the red carpet, a slick limo pulls up, and our guy casually steps out. Seoman Yap strolls down that red carpet like he owns the place. He smirks. Time to have a little fun. The crowd goes completely wild. Baek Jaho asks why everyone is hyping him up. Yap just laughs, blaming Jaho's hard work for making him look so good. Reporters swarm them, begging Seoman Yap and Baek Jaho for an interview. Jaho literally shoves him toward the mics, hissing at him to behave. Surrounded and annoyed at being used as human bait, he gets grilled about the Seoman Foundation attack. The press keeps rapid-firing questions about his past brawls. They ask about the match, and then drop a bombshell, Shulan's arrival after 17 years. Wait, Shulan, he totally freezes. Yep, the reporter confirms she landed in Korea today for the charity game. Yap is super confused. Why would she come? Apparently, she's hunting for a specific boy. Here's where it clicks for him, and you're gonna love this. She means him. He taps the wall, trying to keep his cool. Down the hall, other players are starstruck, whispering about finally seeing the living legend. Yap ignores them, beelining for Baek Jaho. Did he hear the news? Yap drops the bomb that Shulan is here. Jaho sighs, it finally happened. A buddy jokingly tells Yap to carry a shield all the time now. Yap admits he was kinda rude to her back then. Jaho corrects him, dude, you bullied her until she cried. Yap doubts she wants revenge now. But wait, what if she actually blasts him with her extinction ray? Jaho shrugs. People don't forget trauma. Plus, Yap is literally the exact same jerk from back then. Flashback time. 17 years ago, smack in the middle of all the chaos. The Chinese Esper, Shulan, one of the 7 heroes tackling the final dungeon. A super-rich only child with insane, off-the-charts power. She grew up protected like literal royalty. but a spoiled 17-year-old who just cried when things got tough. That was exactly the kind of person Yeop absolutely despised. So he went hard on her. He'd tell her to actually use her brain and ask if her head was just a decoration. He called her slow, poked her, and yelled at her to use her powers. He literally told her a headless chicken had better reflexes. Absolutely ruthless behavior. The poor girl just stood there trembling. Snapping back to the present, Jaho just shakes his head. You and I both know he's probably gonna need a second funeral. But Jaho pushes that aside. They've got bigger fish to fry right now. Jaho claps his hands, calling the players to huddle up. He runs through the charity match rules, figuring these guys already know the drill. Since they have a total newbie on the squad, Jaho speeds through the basics. It's Team Love versus Team Hope out there today. Team Love is the national squad. Team Hope, mostly invited pros plus Beak Hayan, and leading Team Hope is the national coach himself, Beak Jaho. Yeop is rocking with Team Hope too. Jaho admits he's sweating bullets since it's been ages. He hasn't touched a weapon in forever, asking them to go easy. Team Hope's captain swears they'll give it their absolute all. Yeop scoffs. Even Rusty, Jaho is leagues above these guys. Scanning Jaho and Hayan's stats, he figures the three of them can hard carry this match. The rest of the roster, completely mid. But then, one specific player catches his eye. He pulls up Choi Hyuk's stats as the kid asks the coach for guidance. His abilities, focused aura, which packs pure energy into a weapon plus reinforced durability. Max strength, 90. Yeop realizes this kid is a natural tank and calls him over. Choi Hyuk bows, introducing himself as a close combat damage dealer. Yeop blinks. Come again. The kid proudly repeats he's a dealer for Sangsung Spritz. Hyuk admits he dreamed of being a tank just like Yeop, but because he's so short, they stuck him in the damage role instead. Yeop asks about his powers. Hyuk says he only channels aura into his weapon. That's when Yeop figures it out. The kid hasn't awakened his durability yet. That's exactly why he's miscast. Flashback, a coach tells young Hyuk he's way too small and quick for tanking. So they pigeonholed him as a dealer. Back to reality, Yeop yells at Hayan to grab a shield. She immediately sprints off. Yeop literally hands a giant pot lid to Hyuk. No time left, he starts drilling the basics. He barks at him to glue the shield to his chest, advance and retreat. Hyuk whines that he's a dealer, but Yeop glares, asking if he's talking back. The squad watches in shock as he completely rerolls a guy he just met. Hyuk shoots a desperate look at Jaho, but the coach stays dead silent. Jaho completely ignores him, locking in the formation. 4 tanks, 6 dealers, 1 support, realizing he's totally abandoned. Hyuk internally panics while Jaho shouts to gear up. Yeop is shocked by how light his armor feels. Jaho promises it's war era tough and checks the fit. Jaho asks how it feels. Yeop smirks, saying it's pretty weird since he never pictured himself wearing this uniform. Jaho reassures him the weapons are good. Trust me, you'll want to see Yeop test this out. Alright, you and I are about to witness history. He admires the spear's crazy mechanics, while Beak Jaho brags that these exact weapons literally saved the entire world. But Seaman Yeop completely calls him out, pointing out they were custom-made for him under a year ago. The coach warns him to stay sharp. Sure, he claps monsters easily. But these pro players train specifically to fight other humans and have way more actual game experience. Smiling, Seaman Yeop just says he will keep that in mind, Coach Beak. He throws up a thumbs up, totally pumped to see what these experienced pros can actually do. The stadium crowd absolutely loses their minds. The giant scoreboard hypes up the ultimate clash, Team Hope versus Team Love. As they line up, someone points out the national squad hits totally different up close. Seaman Yeop notices the other squad has higher average stats, but honestly, they look pretty mid. 0 standouts. He asks Beak Jaho if they just use basic point scores for recruiting. The coach confirms they recruit based on total points across different categories. Another guy chimes in, saying that because it is all about those highly balanced general grades. Team Love basically has 0 players with insanely overpowering, specialized talents. Right then, Seaman Yeop locks his eyes onto this one specific guy on the other side. He spots this cocky kid loudly chewing gum dead center of the enemy squad. His quick analysis. The kid's overall stats are fine, but his focus is absolute garbage. He wonders if this punk is just another heavily spoiled rich kid. The boy immediately snaps, asking what he is staring at, and straight up calls him an old man. The brat finally recognizes him as Xiamen Yeop. He remembers whining earlier about the legend interfering during their massive, a-tier match against America. Back then, he actually claimed Xiamen Yeop had no clue how real battlefields worked. Hearing this, Xiamen Yeop calmly asks his teammate to swap spots for a quick second. He walks right up and tells Shim Yong-soo that he clearly has a massive problem with him. The kid doubles down, bringing up his attitude from the last match. He barks that acting like a know-it-all without ever actually playing is just embarrassing. Xiamen Yeop literally just cracks up laughing. The kid angrily demands what is so funny. Xiamen Yeop casually asks what the kid's dad does for work. He smugly replies his dad is the association's vice president. Suddenly, a speaker calls everyone to the field. Xiamen Yeop calls him a total Nepo baby and turns to leave, but the brat actually grabs him, angrily demanding why he brought up his dad and used that nickname. He ruthlessly replies he just wanted to know what kind of father raises such a pathetic idiot. Surviving pure hell himself, Xiamen Yeop absolutely despises weak, spoiled rich kids. Smirking, he flashes an offensive gesture and brutally states that thanks to this arrogant little stunt, he is finally pumped for the battlefield, declaring the boy dead meat. You and I can literally feel the hype as Xiamen Yeop's legendary name rocks the roaring arena. The announcer screams that the wait is over. Xiamen Yeop has officially stepped into the arena as an active player. A broadcaster notes that even though it is for charity, the viewer count is going to completely shatter every single record. Huge celebrities pack the stands. Like America's Gerald Walker, plus big shot agents Joe Fellman and Jake Rand. Even Sulen, one of the original 7 heroes, and the Morrow brothers are watching this historic kickoff. They reveal round 1 is set in the lethal spiral cave of Aza. It is a 3-ringed circular dungeon hiding a secret passage, absolutely crawling with skeleton arachnes and massive serpents. It is a brutal showdown. Team Love, featuring the arrogant current national squad roster, versus Team Hope, led by the hero from 17 years ago. 10 minutes earlier, their strategist briefs the squad. He maps out the spawns, Team Hope in Zone 5, Team Love in Zone 1, completely opposite sides. The main squad will farm monsters in Zone 52, while Xiamen Yeop heads straight to 53 to solo the massive serpent boss. Killing the serpent instantly collapses the room, so their timing needs to be flawless. Xiamen Yeop casually agrees to hold back a little. Next, they will sweep Zone 6 and take the hidden passage inward. That is exactly where they will clash with the enemy, and Baek Hee-in plus Xiamen Yeop will lock them down completely. I know what you are thinking. Xiamen Yeop rushing them means an instant win, but the coach plays it safe, since it is best of 3. This first round is basically just Xiamen Yeop scanning the battlefield. Cutting to Zone 5, Team Hope spawn point. The crew fully regroups deep inside a dark, massive cave. Their captain instantly barks orders for everyone to get into formation. Baek Hee-in, acting as the squad's heavy rear sniper, locks in her spot. Baek Ja-ho gears up for support damage, while Xiamen Yeop readies up as the vanguard tank. Every single frontliner, including Cho Huk, rallies right beside him. Xiamen Yeop chuckles, whispering that it has been a long time. Suddenly, a teammate points straight up. The entire cave ceiling is completely infested with huge, terrifying spiders. The creepy arachnes start twitching in the shadows. Meanwhile, over in Zone 11, Team Love starts hunting their own spiders. Captain Ki Woo Hyun screams at Shim Yong-soo to strike. Yong-soo unleashes a flashy, aggressive attack straight at the monster swarm. It slams directly into a beast, violently blasting it right out of the air. Shim Yong-soo, their absolute heavy hitter, shakes off his move. Right away, this bitter grudge match between him and Xiamen Yeop turns into the game's ultimate main event. Yong-soo mocks the hype around the original 7 heroes while crushing a monster behind his back. He rapidly fires off combo after combo, screaming at them to drop dead. He boldly vows that Xiamen Yeop will go down by his hand. Meanwhile, Xiamen Yeop just tells Baek Ja-ho it is go time. He instantly launches himself across the chaotic battlefield. With an insane jump, he rockets straight into the air. Spinning like a buzzsaw, he rips right through the monstrous horde. Baek Ja-ho immediately backs him up, swinging his weapon. A beast spits out toxic venom, and Baek warns him it is falling. But Xiamen Yeop slams his massive shield downward, using it to break his momentum, shouting he caught it. Baek Ja-ho keeps fighting, effortlessly slicing through the surrounding monsters. The stunned commentators are absolutely amazed, officially crowning them the legendary duo. The entire arena explodes as they completely wipe out the terrifying Arachnes, monsters that are notoriously brutal to fight in swarms. Baek Jaho calls the ceiling clear, casually complaining about his bad back. Suddenly, more spiders pour out and he groans, asking if they should wipe those out too. Without missing a beat, the duo perfectly syncs up to slaughter the rest. Cho Huk watches in awe, remembering that while Arachnes aren't exactly top-tier powerhouses, their thick armor makes most attacks useless, but Xiamen Yeop crushes them easily, gripping his spear. So what do you and I take from this? The real bloodbath just started. Let's dive in. Kai Huk finally taps into his special abilities, pouring that focused aura straight into his shield for the very first time. Feeling slightly awkward, he steps up to test this wild technique on a monster. He launches an attack, then brilliantly blocks the heavy counterattack using his fresh aura. Watching from a distance, Saman Yop just smirks. He decides he absolutely cannot sit on the sidelines anymore. A massive beast suddenly charges. Saman Yop firmly braces himself, tanking the monster's heavy hit with his shield. Lunging forward, he brutally pierces the beast with his spear. The monster completely recoils from the sheer impact before his absolute powerhouse move crushes its body. Up in the stands, the Morrow brothers completely lose their minds. They hype it up, recognizing the legendary 100 Sims throw. It is his absolute signature move, and Zulon totally backs it up. He explains that while it looks like a basic thrust, he actually throws the spear at max speed and catches it before it travels 100 units. The crazy result: a super-powered thrust that packs way more momentum than just raw physical strength. This insane catch and throw technique allows zero mistakes, but he pulls it off as naturally as breathing. Sulin admits that after 17 years, the guy remains super annoying. Swatting another beast, he asks Baekju if his side is fully clear. The beast tries attacking Kai Huk's back, but he readies himself. Saman Yop jumps in to block the hit, declaring he has to wrap this up fast. Leaping over the beast, he delivers the final blow. He loudly claims he has an appointment and cannot be late. With Zone 51 totally cleared, the captain praises the squad. He goes to call the next play, but realizes Saman Yop vanished. Kai Huk explains he pushed to Zone 53 and said follow. The captain accepts it, fully trusting that even when acting reckless, the guy always has a plan. Now pay attention, because here is where it gets totally wild. Down in trembling Zone 53, Saman Yop steps right up to the massive boss, Serpent. He jokes their last fight feels like yesterday. Hyping himself up, he zeroes in on the monster and loudly challenges it to an epic all-out brawl. The monster charges lightning fast. Saman Yop smoothly slides across the floor to position himself perfectly. Planting his shield deep, he completely tanks the heavy impact. Holding firm, he launches a devastating upward strike right into Serpent's massive jaw. Keeping the pressure dialed to max with a fierce look, he suddenly turns around. He asks the squad if they finally made it, joking they were taking forever. The squad just stares at him standing over the boss, blown away he soloed it. He explains this entire match system is all about racking up points to level up. Ready to move out, he leaves the main squad. He tells Baekju and Bak Hyeon to follow along. He reveals his absolute genius plan. The trio ditches the group, sneaking straight toward Team Amore's hunting zone while totally dodging the random monsters. He casually brags that Serpent nearly got one-shotted. Then he breaks down how the battlefield point system actually works. Noting they barely scored anything from fighting those spiders, Baekju wonders if his crazy power is just his high-score mindset talking. Pushing for answers, he demands to know why there are 0 orders with Team Amore so close. So, the master plan is finally revealed. It involves an enemy player named Yang Su, great skills, totally garbage mindset. If the guy isn't around, he says he'll just watch the field before making any calls. But if he is there, game on. Meanwhile in Zone 12, Team Amore wraps up their entire hunt. Team Amore's captain, Chae Woo-hun, switches formations, splitting them for Zones 9 and 11. Advancing to Zone 9, their 5-man squad starts taking on way more monsters. Shim Yang-soo blasts a monster with a heavy hit. He smugly realizes his point-hoarding strategy is completely working. Feeling untouchable, he tells Saman Yop to wait for him, pushing his squad forward. He genuinely thinks he can one-shot the guy. You and I saw this coming, right? A teammate screams a warning, but a massive shield slams him back. Touching his grazed face, he realizes this spear attack is a total enemy trap. Over in Zone 11, the other guys panic right as Salmon Yop suddenly appears. Before they can react, a surprise attack drops Team Amore. Salmon Yop's squad then steps out from behind the fallen players. The ambush absolutely shocks the battlefield. In a flashback, Salmon Yop tells his squad to flank the enemy from the opposite side after dropping Serpent. He hypes them to fight the national players to the end, promising he will jump in to help real soon. The hype squad charges the battlefield. Baekju notices the throw got blocked. Salmon Yop laughs, saying he shouldn't wreck the kids on round 1. Wishing Baekju luck, he completely preps to launch his teammates straight at the enemy team. With raw power, he hurls Baekju through the sky. Next, he readies his massive shield. He blasts the shield right behind him. It flies at blinding speed, following the exact same path. Midair, Baekju grabs the shield. The captain realizes Yongsu is the target, yelling to protect him. Shim Yongsu is mobbed by defenders, but Baekju teleports, absolutely slamming their tanks, his real targets. An enemy player yells to target the coach, but Baekju takes a wild blindside hit. They scream to keep attacking, desperate to finish this before his teleport cooldown resets. Baek Hyeon yells for her dad, pulling him to safety with her whip. She then boldly launches into the crazy brawl. Flying through the air, she preps her strike. With crazy agility, she uses the whip to propel herself. And that is where we leave it. Salmon Yop blocks the hit on Baekju, joking about the fun while his buddy just glares. Alright, stick with me, we are diving right into absolute madness. Salmon Yap smirks, declaring all enemy tanks are officially wrecked. His trio regroups, asking if it is a 3-on-3 brawl. Team Ammer freaks out. Yap then suggests they each just pick a target to wreck. Shim Yong-soo instantly steps right up to face the crazy challenge. The crowd goes absolutely wild over this big brain team play. Even the casters hype up their trick, faking an assault on Yong-soo to delete 2 players and bounce cleanly. They totally hype Yeop's insane opening move. Using his spear to block that strike on Baek Jae, the guy is an absolute genius, turning a basic skill into top-tier magic. While the casters speak, Yap chucks Baek Jae into the air again. Baek Hyeon jumps. She rapidly advances, chasing Shim Yong-soo, while the final Team Ammer guy tails them. Nathan Bernard attacks from the enemy side, but Hyeon cleanly jumps away. Suddenly, Yeop teleports right behind Yong-soo and whispers a quick question. Then, bam, a brutal shield bash straight to the face. He instantly tosses the shield, scoring a massive headshot that drops him cold. Yap casually walks up to the guy. The enemy team suddenly realizes their entire squad just got wiped. Team Ammer's captain is completely stunned that 5 guys dropped so fast. He is seriously losing his mind over this. He orders everyone to charge in and flip the script. Choi Huk squares up against a remaining player. Flashback time. We see Yap teaching Choi Huk the absolute basics of shield blocking. Back to the fight. Choi Huk uses that exact lesson to perfectly parry the strike, but the Team Ammer player spots a tiny opening right after the clash. Watch this, Choi Huk smoothly dodges super fast strikes. Team Ammer's captain is totally baffled that a fake tank is this durable. Now watch closely, things get absolutely crazy here. The captain blasts the so-called fake tank, rushing in for the kill while Choi Huk blocks. But Yeop intercepts, dropping the captain instantly. Yap gives Choi Huk massive props for holding the line, saying they have got the rest. He boldly announces they are wrapping this up in 5 minutes flat to move on. Boom, Team Hope takes the first set 8-0, and Baek Jae snags the most valuable player title. A player runs into the waiting room, hyping up the coach's god-tier strategy. Swarmed by his team, Baek Yeho hears he should totally go pro. He happily thanks everyone for the hype. He admits joining at his age is a bit embarrassing, but honestly, swinging his weapon again after 17 long years was incredibly fun. Baek Jae then glances over at Seomin Yeop, chilling completely by himself in the corner. He admits out loud that none of this huge win happens without Yeop backing him. Yeop is watching a Korean drama on his phone where someone says love returns, thinking it is pure cringe. Meanwhile, the announcers kick off set 2. Which will take place on a chaotic map packed with twisted rooms and stairs. They reveal it is the infamous Labyrinth of the Condemned, the brutal dungeon that claimed the lives of countless aspirers before Yeop actually beat it. Both squads march out in tight formation. The casters are super hyped to see who manages to survive this maze first. Choi Woo-hyun glares daggers at Yeop, muttering that ever since coming back from the final dungeon, he just keeps running into total weirdos and annoying players. He thinks back to the media hyping up a rivalry with Walker, those creepy fans treating him like a god, and total clowns like Shim Yong-soo. He realizes everyone either doubts his insane feats or just wants to test his real power. Yeop snaps on his visor, deciding he might as well just show them. You and I both know exactly what that smile means. He warns it will be absolutely terrifying. At base, Baek-jae tries explaining the crazy maze layout, but gets totally cut off. Yeop boldly declares he is going completely solo, leaving the rest to hold the fort. Baek-jae stutters, asking if he actually still remembers the layout from his epic clear. And Yeop smirks, dropping a bombshell. He literally mapped the place, realizing a whole year has genuinely passed for Yeop. He asks if the layout shifted, but Yeop says it is exactly the same. Baek-jae warns him to be careful, but Yeop just laughs it off, telling them to get ready for a wild show. Then he drops the hammer. This time he is fighting for real, if Team Amber spawned on the far side. He already knows their exact path and bursts forward at insane speed. Baek-haen asks her dad if Uncle Yeop is safe going solo, but he promises Yeop's dungeon sense is absolute peak. He hypes up that Yeop definitely has a master plan, and Haen agrees her uncle is a legend. But Baek-jae's face drops, sweating over whether his brother-in-law is actually just winging it. He screams Yeop's name. Meanwhile, Yeop is already sprinting down the corridor, flawlessly deflecting strikes with his massive shield. He cleanly slides across the stone floor, dodging a skeleton's brutal swing. Suddenly, 2 more bone warriors rise up, ready to clash. Yeop drops into a battle stance, chuckling about how wildly nostalgic this all feels. He casually greets the monsters, then launches himself right into the massive pile of advancing skeletons. He completely sidesteps a hit, does a sick mid-air spin and unleashes his spear. Landing hard, he blocks a double strike, then brutally shoves another skeleton aside with his shield and just keeps sprinting. Suddenly, a massive skeleton grabs him from behind and literally throws him. Yeop flies hard through the labyrinth. He gets launched into a crazy zero-floor zone where gravity is 10 times heavier. But instead of falling, he rides the momentum, smashes into a far wall, and launches himself straight forward. He catches a beam, swinging off it to build crazy speed. Yeop flashes a giant grin. This ridiculous route is actually the ultimate shortcut. Boom, he lands shield first right in front of Team Amber. The enemy squad completely freezes. Absolutely stunned, he crossed the map in under 10 minutes. Yeop calmly tells them he completely figured out their moves back in set 1. The dust clears as he squares up, telling these totally average players they are basically already dead. Team Amber's captain, Choi Woo-hyun, screams at his squad not to panic and orders a full retreat. He yells there is zero chance Yeop is solo, demanding they immediately regroup. Yeop chases them down, smirking. Backing off was a smart play, but they are totally dead wrong about him having backup. He decides to give them a tiny compliment and play around a bit longer, since the game would literally be over if they tried fighting. This is the exact moment you and I were waiting for. His eyes glow with a scan ability, skipping the weaklings until he locks onto his target and hurls his spear. Hitting the guy straight in the head, the enemy shatters into pixels, and the system announces Yeop's first brutal elimination as he casually reaches out. Alright, strap in, because you and I are about to watch absolute gaming madness. He knows they couldn't dodge, but realizes the squad already chickened out. Checking out the high ground, he heads right up. Meanwhile, Team Love takes a breather way across the map. Ki Woo-hyun is absolutely fuming about getting jumped. One guy actually thinks they should have fought since Yeop was solo, but Woo-hyun snaps back. They had zero clue he was alone, so staying paranoid was totally the right call. Up in the booth, the caster spots Seo-moon Yeop taking the high ground. What is this crazy dude plotting? Running the math on their escape time and speed, he locks onto the perfect ambush spot. And then, a total villain smirk. He figures they are down there. A 50% hit rate, good enough for him. He grips that spear tight, ready to launch. Smirking, he just mutters the word love. Yanking his arm back, he chucks it with insane force, screaming that love returns. The weapon absolutely rockets through the maze. That throw literally rips right through the ceiling. Team Love looks up, totally clueless about the absolute missile dropping on them. Boom, Yeop's spear slams dead center into their squad. Wu Haiyan just stares at the grounded weapon, totally mind blown. Where did that even come from? The casters are losing their minds over this insane play. The system rings up Yeop's second kill, and he casually flexes that his 50% guess was spot on. Now pay close attention here, because the casters call this the greatest elimination in Korean server history. The dust clears around a very rattled Team Love. Shim Yong-soo is absolutely raging, screaming no more running. They need to fight back, totally convinced Yeop is rolling solo. Wu Haiyan tries to chill him out, but Yong-soo refuses to just stand there. He says the enemy is getting free kills. The captain argues splitting up is a huge mistake since they are down members, but Yong-soo demands a real game plan. Yeop drops onto a beam right above them, mocking their little argument and calling them cowards. Yong-soo gets furious, ready to just burn him alive with his skill. His teammate tells him to save energy. Annoyed by the backseat gaming, he asks if they really want to lose. Boom, his hand lights up. He blasts a fireball straight at Yeop. The explosion totally shreds the wall where he was standing. Yong-soo starts bragging, claiming he perfectly read that hiding spot. Suddenly, Yeop calls him an absolute idiot, making him whip around. The squad looks up and sees the real Yeop chilling on the ledge. He asks if Yong-soo seriously didn't realize he made noise on purpose just as bait. Yeop roasts his terrible acting skills, then just leaps away. He leaves them totally in the dust. Yong-soo is stunned his skill got swatted away so easily, but his teammate points out that was a full power attack, and honestly, the raw output was insane. Yong-soo's firepower is literally major league tier. Blocking an attack like that shouldn't be easy. This Yeop guy is a massive threat they cannot ignore. Wu Haiyan finally agrees with Yong-soo. They need to take out Seo Moon Yeop right now. He sends his 3 heavy hitters to hunt him down. The big brain strategy: take the west route, fake a scouting mission, and then catch Yeop completely off guard from the back. Once they grab some points, the main squad will back them up for the kill. The casters note Team Love is chasing him, but catching Yeop, not gonna happen. Because honestly, Seo Moon Yeop knows this maze map way better than anyone else playing today. You saw that setup coming, right? Yeop watches them approach, completely bored by their basic moves. He jumps right at them, extremely disappointed. The casters shout that he perfectly read their play. He charges straight at the 3 damage dealers, slamming his spear into the ground. The shockwave forces all 3 back. Yeop gives them props for their reaction time, easily blocking 1 attack and confirming they are all pure DPS. Smiling, Yeop knows they are the perfect prey. He instantly grabs one guy and just yeets him into the wall. The system rings up Yeop's 3rd kill. Turning to the next guy, he literally hurls the defeated player's body like a projectile. It crushes the 2nd guy, scoring his 4th elimination. Yeop walks up to the final hunter, saying it is his turn next. The guy freezes in pure terror before sprinting for his life. Yeop launches his spear, easily locking down that sweet 5th kill. He casually checks his kill count, realizing there are only 6 players left, smiling like a demon. He decides to wipe the whole lobby at once. The crowd is losing it. Wiping 3 pro players in under a minute is totally absurd. Even the VIPs are completely stunned. The Moro brothers mention that old debate about heroes fighting modern players. After watching him absolutely destroy Walker, the answer is crystal clear. Su-en admits it. The king is officially back in the game. The casters hype his total dominance, while Baek-ju jumps on comms, asking about the 5 kills. Yeop casually mentions his aura is glowing red now. Baek-ju offers backup and asks for his ping. Zone 31. Yeop spots the last enemies and warns her the match will be over before she gets there. Standing up, he tells her to mute comms because it is go time. Baek-ju tries shouting back, but Yeop is already blitzing out at max speed. Yeop pulls up right in front of the remaining Team Love squad, smirking. He playfully asks if he kept them waiting. Wu Haiyan yells at his team to stay cool and spread out. As they scatter, Yeop figures they definitely set a trap. He watches them move to surround him. Team Love glares right back, totally locked in for this final boss battle. Their goal is a full circle gank. But even facing a literal 360 attack, he knows the fastest player has to engage first. One guy rushes in. Yeop quickly scans him, spotting an instant acceleration skill. The guy triggers his massive speed boost for 30 seconds. Yeop easily parries it. So what do you and I take from this? never fight a pro on his own turf. Stick with me here. For 30 seconds, this dude is the fastest Esper alive, but they never realized why they always choke in the International League. The opponent is completely stunned he dodged. But here is the catch: insane physical speed doesn't boost his mental processing rate at all. Boom, one single strike and Salmon Yap drops him. The system calls out elimination number 6, while Chu Hyun screams for Shimyang Su to blast his explosion sphere. Yang Su unleashes an absolute barrage of attacks, screaming for Yap to go straight to hell. With the smoke blocking Yap's vision, a player rushes in. He yells for Jae-hun to charge. The dude sprints right into the thick smoke. But then bam, Salmon Yap drops on him from above. Elimination number 7 rings out, leaving the last two guys absolutely frozen in shock. Then, Yap casually snatches up the 2 spears he snagged earlier, moving like lightning. He strikes the final 2 opponents. The system chimes in with eliminations 8 and 9. He just turns around and walks away from the wrecked squad. Salmon Yap drops his spear into stance, ready for the final showdown. Staring at the duo, he asks if it's just them left. Chae Woo-hyun and Shimyang Su literally shake. And the captain mutters this is way worse than their match against France. Meanwhile, Chae Woo-hyun's scan confirms it. The guy's special ability is deceleration. Yap smirks, saying his power is decent, but his Esper skills are complete trash compared to the international pros. He looks at Yang Su, promising to somehow handle this mess. Yap asks what they are whispering about, and charges right at Chae Woo-hyun. The system immediately calls out his 10th elimination. He looks at Yang Su. Is he really the last guy standing? Yang Su stumbles back, begging him to stay away, but Yap keeps walking forward. Screaming, the final opponent charges. Shields up, he takes the massive hit dead on, absorbing the crazy impact. Then he just slams the guy into the dirt, locking in the 11th elimination. You guys have to see this. The casters go wild, announcing the first ever solo all-kill in Korean battlefield history. The broadcasters hype up this insane second-set miracle, a historic sweep. The stadium crowd goes absolutely feral, screaming about how this one guy just completely wiped out the entire national team. Salmon Yap completely shattered the so-called experts, who claimed he would actually need time to adjust to the battlefield. He and Baek Jaho stroll through the arena with the entire crowd chanting his name. Yap points up at a random drone, asking Jaho what it is, learning it is a camera. Jaho explains it broadcasts straight to the arena monitors, and the crowd goes crazy seeing him up there. Realizing it is live TV, Yap literally flips off the camera right away. Jaho grabs him, totally panicked, asking what is wrong with him. Yap just smirks, calling it fun. Jaho drags him away, saying they really need to leave now. Yap asks where they are going, and his brother-in-law says it is time for the MVP interview. Reporter Lee Yoongi steps up, introducing herself to chat with our 2 stars. She hypes up their insane skills, saying her first question goes straight to Baek Jaho, the first set's MVP. She asks if he actually expected to pop off this hard today. But he straight up says no. He admits Salmon Yap bullied him into joining, but thankfully, his muscle memory kicked in and he remembered how to fight. She thanks him for the honest answer, then pivots over to Yap. The reporter leans in, asking if he seriously planned to pull off that crazy all-kill. And Yap casually says yes, because once he started playing, he realized it was a total piece of cake. He explains that he totally held back in set 1 just to warm up, then went full try-hard in set 2. The reporter asks for some advice for Team Love, so he judges the opponents, pointing out their positions were a mess and half of them did not even understand their own powers. Yap drops a bomb, claiming the so-called incompetent coach is not actually the problem, but their leader lacked zero game sense. When asked if he wants to step up and lead the players himself, I know you guys will relate to this response. He basically says they are too noob to bother with, unless the money is right, because hey, capitalism rules everything. Cut to the car. Yap asks where they are headed now, and Jaho explains there is a huge post-game party, since Haein already went on ahead. Yap whines about missing his favorite TV show, but his brother-in-law tells him to drop it for tonight. Yap grumbles about how annoying this is, until Jaho snaps, telling him to stop complaining and asking why he gave that wild interview answer. Jaho points out this is the first time he didn't give a flat no. Yap clarifies he hates the idea of playing, but being a teacher, maybe. Then Yap roasts Jaho, asking why he even became a coach since he sucks at it. Jaho sighs, saying he was totally pressured into the gig. Jaho explains that after taking orders from Yap for 11 years, he figured he could coach just by copying exactly how Yap used to train them. Jaho thought it would be easy, remembering how Imrasa became a famous coach just by watching Yap. But Yap sighs, saying that during the fight he realized absolutely nobody in this country knows how to teach proper techniques. His brother-in-law's eyes light up. Does he want to be a technical coach? Yap smirks, saying he might if the bag is big enough, and he is only helping because Jaho is the coach. Grateful, Jaho listens up as Yap offers some rare free advice, telling his brother-in-law to follow his exact instructions, which Jaho quickly agrees to. He says to put Kai Huk as the main tank, use Yubuko for the finisher since the kid cannot control his speed, and throw Chu Hun into the backline. And the cherry on top, kick the vice president's son off the team entirely. Jaho is absolutely floored at the idea of dropping Yang-soo like that. Yap rolls his eyes, asking why Jaho even cares about some vice president. He reminds him he is literally one of the 7 heroes. Still, Ja argues the stats don't justify benching the kid. His firepower is insanely high, and his aura is the strongest on the team. But Yap immediately fires back, questioning, why keep a guy who has the attention span of a toddler? He bluntly reminds Jaho that Team Love literally lost because of him. Jaho argues it is wasting talent. But Yap shuts it down. The kid is useless until he fixes his focus. Hesitant, Jaho asks if he should really swap out Yang-soo and bring in Cho Huk. Yap nods. If he buffs Huk's strength, the team will improve overnight. Free advice session over, Yap tells him to go warn the association president to start gathering a massive budget if they want to hire him. The car finally pulls up to the Hunter Hotel, and they walk into a massive, VIP-filled party. Haein runs up hyped, recommending the vodka, and Yap jokes she really knows her drinks. That is where we leave it today, guys, trust me, it only gets crazier. Haein admits she only started drinking because she heard it was his absolute favorite, so he totally praises her for growing up right. Stick with me here, guys. Baekju heads off to see the president, and one dude literally celebrates that the buzzkill is finally gone. Yop's epic arrival totally grabs the attention of the party guests. The American agent, Joe Fellman, sees his absolute chance and prepares to approach. But his assistant quickly stops him. She warns him not to just aggressively recruit the guy and risk making him mad, which he gets. Fellman decides to chill and wait, but someone randomly bumps right into him. The guy calls out to Siaman Yop, who turns around and immediately spots Jake Rand, the European agent. Rand says what's up, and Yop quickly corrects his last name. Meanwhile, Fellman is carefully watching this whole thing go down. Fellman reminds himself to stay cool, even though Rand totally stole a player from him before. He knows Siaman Yop is basically built different. And getting him to sign won't be easy without knowing his crazy history. Rand just smoothly hands Yop his business card. He tells him to call if he plays, and Yop says he will think about it. Haein asks why his English is so good, and he just says traveling. She asks why she only heard Korean before. Yop totally roasts her peanut brain, making Haein pout and complain that he's being a major jerk. Watching Rand walk away, Fellman realizes this is his golden opportunity to make a move. But as he steps up, he gets shoved aside by a busy crowd. The Moro brothers approach Yop in English, calling him the best esper ever. He casually mentions he also speaks French. Yop instantly recognizes them as those crazy French arms dealer brothers. Suddenly, now pay attention here, this is huge. Haein whispers they actually own Paris Lumiere, the #1 team globally, and even host top-tier players like Nathan Bernard. Yop remembers that guy being insanely fast back in the day. He assumes they want to recruit him, but the brothers totally deny it. They admit they know he won't do anything he hates, but having him would be epic. Plot twist, they're actually super interested in Haein, which completely catches her off guard. Yop tells his niece they want her, leaving her shook. She awkwardly thanks them, while Yop tells her to chill. He asks if they are seriously interested in her. The brothers swear they would never lie to a legend. They explain she was too indecisive before, but her switching to a close-range brawler was basically like finding the ultimate missing puzzle piece. Hearing she'd fit perfectly if she just leveled up her sword skills, Yop totally agrees with their expert analysis. The brothers hype up that he, Nathan, and Haein would make an absolutely unstoppable power trio. Yop says he will think about it if he ever plays again. They promise to drop the fattest contract ever when he does. Yop asks if team owners make bank. They confirm it's crazy profitable, as long as they build players everyone else wants to buy. Being massive fans, they promise him a custom weapon. Yop gladly accepts because free loot is free loot. The brothers bow and quickly head out. They dip fast, and Yop calls them a literal tornado. Haein runs up, asking what happened. But her uncle is totally burnt out and just wants people to leave him alone. He offers to chat over vodka, but she desperately insists on answers. Someone calls out, and he turns around looking completely done. He sighs, and an older guy asks for a second. The guy introduces himself as Minyoung from the Blue House. Yop is super confused. Minyoung asks if he knows about the Esper reward system. Yop recalls a fake rumor about an Esper war pension. Minyoung explains it isn't fake at all. He is a top-tier contributor, earning him 12 million won every single month. Yop just brutally deadpans, so what? You and I both know where this is going. They owe him 17 years of back pay, an insane tax-free 2.8 billion won. Over 5 billion won literally echoes through the massive room. Yop mutters 2.5 billion while doing the insane math. Haein walks up asking what he's doing. Before he answers, Joe Fellman, the American agent, finally makes his move. Yop bluntly asks if he's here to recruit him too, begging to be left alone. But Fellman seriously insists they need to talk. He says Yop must be struggling to adjust after saving everyone, since 17 years are just gone forever. Yop looks completely confused. Fellman claims Yop will eventually find a new purpose in peacetime. He hands him a card, telling him not to get discouraged. Hoping he remembers it, Fellman says goodbye. Walking away, he wonders if he just sounded totally ridiculous. Haein asks if Fellman was trying to recruit him. Yop just calls the guy a weirdo, which makes her super curious about him. She explains Fellman is a massive big shot in America, literally called the money ghost for stealing so many top-tier Korean Espers. Yop finds it wild he just spouted nonsense instead of offering cash. She adds he once tried recruiting her dad with crazy money. As Yop watches Fellman leave, the host hypes up the mic. The main event, the massive donation exchange, is officially starting. He announces the top donor will be the special guest. The host screams Seaman Yop's name, and Yop literally freezes, thinking wait me. The crowd goes wild as he walks up. On stage, Yop casually asks just how much his whole fortune was to beat everyone else. The host reveals it was 1.74 trillion won. Park clarifies that following his exact instructions. So you and I gotta see what's next. They donated it all. Yop grabs the mic, recalling the warning. Let's dive right into this absolute madness. Yop never imagined the numbers were this crazy. He actually finds it hilarious that he was hyped over 2.5 billion when his real assets topped a trillion. The crowd cracks up when he jokes about taking some of his cash back. He pauses, takes a breath. Then he mentions that 17 years have passed since his massive donation. And yeah, things look way different since his last dungeon raid. He points out that literally everyone praises him as a world savior, hyping up his quote-unquote noble sacrifice. But honestly, there was zero noble meaning behind it. He just straight-up loved dungeons. Sometimes he even wished the monsters would hold out longer so he could keep fighting. That is exactly why Yop doesn't get all the hero worship. He doesn't feel like a savior, just a guy bummed out that the fun is over. But get this, he is genuinely proud of one thing. The kids his donations helped, they are all fully grown adults now. To him, that beats saving the world any day because he never wants another kid to suffer like he did. Speech over, the host thanks him, and Yop walks off stage to a massive round of applause. Park walks up, smirking about his solid public speaking skills. He asks if throwing 7 trillion around hides his insane personality. Yop just casually blames his rough childhood for his attitude. Park shoots back that he was literally born a troublemaker. Yop sighs, asking why he is really here. Park instantly calls him out for destroying the national players. Yop claps back, asking if he was supposed to go easy on them. Park groans that the charity match was a disaster, with the entire league getting stomped by one dude. But Yop thinks it has always been like that, getting visibly annoyed. Park yells that thanks to Yop, the government barely funds Espers, treating them like absolute monsters. He screams that Yop caused all this. He brings up how Yop treated the government and the Blue House like straight-up street thugs. Park yells that politicians now think every Asper is just as crazy. But Yop argues they started the trash talk. Now pay attention, this is where it gets interesting. Park finally drops his real agenda. He wants Yop as the national team's technical coach. He offers a ridiculous amount of cash, but Yop turns him down, saying it is a hard pass. Smiling, our guy reveals he actually has something else in mind. Cut to the car. Yop calculates out loud that the total hits 16 billion. Beak looks over, totally lost, and asks what on earth he means. Yop casually drops the bomb. He wants to buy his own club. Beak is absolutely stunned. Yop claims his heart just breaks seeing the national team flop, so he wants to coach hand-picked players himself. Beak totally doubts his sudden patriotism. He warns him that even the worst bottom-tier league team runs about 20 billion. Hearing that, Yop pivots to buying a second-division team. Beak realizes this has absolutely zero to do with patriotism. It is all about securing the bag. Yop just cracks up and admits it is super obvious. The car stops, Beak announces they are here and tells him to bounce. Yop freezes right as he steps out. Beak asks what is up. Down the street there is a woman standing perfectly still, and she is staring dead at him. Beak immediately recognizes her as Zealan. He asks why she is here, and she vaguely mentions having some business. Yop just cuts to the chase and asks what it is. He realizes he cannot read her face at all anymore, way different from the past. So, he pops open her status window to see what is up. Holy leveling! Almost all her abilities are totally maxed out now, plus a brand new skill called location. He instantly realizes how insanely powerful she is. Yop faces her, straight up asks if she came all this way to kill him. She is brutally honest, admitting the thought crossed her mind when she found out he was immortal. But nope, that is not why she is here. Honestly, he wouldn't let her anyway. He tells her to drop the old grudges, considering she is still breathing. Zealan fires back that her grudges are completely gone. She actually forgave him for how he treated her back then. Confused, Yop asks why she came. She admits she just needed to see with her own eyes that he was truly back. Having confirmed it, Zealan spins around and heads out. Both Yop and Beak are left standing there, totally baffled by this random visit. But as she walks away, the real reason hits us. Flashback time, a younger Yop is yelling at her, threatening to end her life right on the spot. Young Zealan just wanted to go home, feeling completely broken. But trust me on this, it gets even crazier. Suddenly, a massive stone monster towers right over her. Zealan knows she needs to fire off her extinction ray immediately, but she is totally drained. Zero energy left. And just like that, the creature gets absolutely obliterated by a surprise attack. Boom, Yop appears right next to her, mocking her for struggling with trash mobs. Then he softens up and asks if she is okay. The young woman just freezes, completely silent. Snap back to the present. Zealan smiles, confirming he really is back. Meanwhile, Yop is hyped over his fresh bank deposit, wondering which club he should cop. Beak asks if this boomer even knows how to use a banking app, and if he is seriously buying a battleground club. Yop confidently says yes. Scrolling through his phone, Yop claims he is just investing as a little hobby. Beak immediately warns him that this is a crazy expensive game. Beak then offers to literally buy him a top-tier league club, saying it is the absolute least he can do. But Yop curves him, refusing his cash, and asks what KB7 is. His buddy explains the KB7 league features 7-on-7 matches, making it way cheaper to run. Yop leans in, asking if that league actually pulls good players. Beak shuts that down, clarifying all the real talent flocks to KB2. Hearing this, Yop makes his choice. He wants a KB2 team, and he wants it now. Yop admits he hasn't done an ounce of research, so he just calls up the association president. He practically screams into the phone that the idea is pure genius. The president is all for it, thrilled he turned down the coaching gig for this. But Yop cringes and tells him to stop yelling. Then he asks the golden question. Are there any clubs up for grabs? Park replies they have 3 taking offers and 1 desperate to sell immediately. Oh yeah, Yop is super interested now. He asks which club it is. Arriving right in front of the Incheon Battleground Stadium, Yop asks if this is the spot. Yop stares up at the stadium's massive screen, flashing the huge matchup between GT and Hanjong. He tilts his head, wondering if it is backed by Hanjong Industry. The epic battle arena opens up. The crowd goes absolutely wild, screaming support and totally roasting the Hanjong team. Sitting in the stands, Yop thinks his disguise is flawless, but everyone is whispering and backing away. So what do you and I make of this? Bro is always terrifying. Let's dive into a wild scouting trip. He's hoping to find one decent player here, knowing the secondary league is pure garbage. The announcer hypes up both teams entering the massive stadium, the GT Knights versus Hanjong Industry. Seomin Yop starts his stat checks. The first guy, absolute garbage, he just keeps on evaluating. He scans the rest of the roster. Terrible, awful, or just barely okay. Suddenly, his eyes lock onto one specific player. He checks out Namong Jihun and No Youngwon's stats. Why is the skinny kid playing support? Sure, his shield ability throws up a decent barrier, which fits the role perfectly, but get this. His technique is 74 out of 95. That screams massive potential to become a crazy good damage dealer. This kid is weird. If nobody ever paid attention, he'd stay a useless support forever. So Yop makes the call, this guy is definitely in. Next, he scopes out another dude's strength and stamina limits. They're actually matching National Pro Cha Woo Hyun. Sure, his base physical strength skill is totally basic, but his buff multiplier is insanely high, so he gets the green light too. Yop decides the rest of the active roster is trash and turns to check the bench. One benchwarmer immediately grabs his focus. He pulls up the stats for Lee Naeun, who is currently screaming and cheering her lungs out for her losing team. Her special skill lets her jump a crazy 20 meters high. He figures she'd actually be a deadly archer if she just pumped her speed stat up to 100. 1 hour later, the game wraps up. Outside, he checks the final scoreboard. Man, they are laughably bad, but honestly, he thinks the more pathetic their starting point is, the more satisfying the glow-up will be. Now watch this flex. He grabs his phone, makes the call, and straight up buys the entire Hanjong Industry team. 2 days later at headquarters, the old owner officially hands over the club. The guy feels super guilty that the players suffered so much under his totally broke management. Yop shakes his hand, swearing he's going to forge the absolute ultimate squad. The old boss gives him his blessing, saying he'll be cheering for them from the sidelines. The news explodes. Yop bought the team for over 519 billion won. The internet loses its mind. Outside headquarters, Park Jin-tae pats him on the back for the insane purchase. But here's where it gets really interesting for us. Yop just shrugs it off. The older guy warns that an esports club isn't some toy, then asks for his master plan. Our guy casually replies that he's just gonna let them keep doing their usual thing for now. He says he'll drop by to check on the players pretty soon. Park Jin-tae says his goodbyes, but spots a sick ride and asks if it's new. Yop explains he needs his own wheels now. He can't just have Jay chauffeuring his butt around town all day long. Then he drops the wildest flex. He bought this sweet motorcycle with the spare change from buying the team. He hits the gas and tears down Yongbu Highway. He's swerving through traffic while horns blast everywhere. One driver starts raging about some absolute maniac ripping a bike on the freeway, screaming that the dude isn't even wearing a helmet. Yop just keeps tearing down the asphalt. A random driver watches this blur fly past, totally shocked when he actually recognizes Seomin Yop's face. People are gossiping, saying he gets away with this because of his immunity. Everyone knows he's wild, but suddenly, he slams the brakes hard right in the middle of the road. Yop finally rolls up to the Hanjong Industry headquarters. He takes one look at the rusty, busted roof of the old building and chuckles. The place is an absolute dump, but hey, it's huge. A guy marches over to kick out the trespasser, but completely freezes in panic the second he recognizes him. He stammers out his name. Coach Choi Dong-jun Yop immediately sizes up the guy's physical build. Doing a quick stat scan, he confirms the coach is actually an Asper who played support back in the day. Yop casually asks his age. The guy says 43. Yop just slings an arm around him, laughing that he's 4 years older. He leans in closer, teasing him about the age gap, and the coach just sweats and nods. Yop says they're on a first-name basis now, but the poor guy is too stressed and insists on calling him boss. He tells Dong-jun to give him the grand tour. The nervous coach leads him through the crusty halls, mentioning they've got 14 players on the roster right now. Yop thinks 14 is a pathetic number. Still, he's relieved this old dump actually has the basic facilities they need to function. Finally, Dong-jun pushes open the doors to the main training arena. Yop looks around. It's spacious but beat up. He immediately demands to know why there are only 11 training pods for 14 players. The coach awkwardly explains that those pods cost a massive fortune, so they could only afford 11 for the starters. Yop just scans the room. You and I both know the real problem here. It's the players, not the coach. So he decides it's time to finally face the music and meet his new squad. This totally catches the coach off guard. Yop tells him to round up the active roster immediately because he's not wasting a single second. Down in the lounge, Yop drops the bomb, he's their new boss. That benchwarmer from earlier, Lee Naeun, nervously steps up, bowing and saying it's a huge honor to meet him. He shakes her hand and casually mentions she's been grinding hard with the bow. She gasps, completely shocked he figured it out. He just smiles, pointing out the fresh archer calluses all over her fingers. Yop hits her with the hard truth, she's super stressed because no matter how much she grinds, she's totally stuck. Defeated, she just nods along. She knows her technique is awful. Anywhere else, she'd be a permanent benchwarmer. But then he drops a bomb, it's fine, because he's promoting her to the main roster right now. He loudly declares that her new gimmick is Phantom Thief. From this moment on, her entire job is to jump around and totally steal the enemy team's attention. Yop doubles down, asking if her skills have basically hit a brick wall despite all her brutal training. Naeun agrees, looking absolutely crushed and totally out of hope. He just smirks, points right at her, and yells that she's out. She immediately panics, thinking she just agreed her way into getting fired, but he quickly calms her down. Saying she's not getting kicked, he repeats that she's going straight to the starting lineup. She stammers, asking if he's actually serious. Yop nods confidently, explaining that he sees one super specific, overpowered talent in her. She blinks, asking if he means her archery. He bursts out laughing, are you crazy? How can an Asper suck so badly with a bow? He reveals her true talent isn't shooting at all, it's running like a maniac. She just blankly repeats the word. He tells her to max out her sprinting speed and combo it with her insane jump ability. If she spams arrows while parkouring all over the map, she can totally snipe the enemy's kills and bounce before they even counterattack. She's totally stunned, trolling the enemy, but trust me, that's where we leave it. He grins and confirms she's just gonna harass them non-stop. They won't be able to ignore her. Jump in with me here, she will be too fast to catch. Her real job, annoying the enemy, which is just peak gaming. She asks if she can actually be a main player. His response, he guarantees if she pops off, the national team is calling. Leon gets totally hyped, asking if that is actually true. Leaning right over the table, she begs for confirmation, and Seaman Yeop casually says yes. Muttering main player and national team to herself, she thanks him and swears to go all out. He just tells her to swap out with Namong Jiun on her way. The door pops open with a voice asking to enter, and Somi lets him in. Namong Jae-hun introduces himself as the team's support, totally honored. He wonders why the new boss called him in for an interview. Seaman Ye drops the bomb, he is officially no longer a support. Pure shock, Jiun claps back that he is definitely a support. Suman Yap shoots that down, while the kid begs there is a mistake. But the new boss doubles down, his support days are entirely over. Jiun is just standing there, wondering why he even got called in. Checking out his stats, Sumyap casually explains he is actually built to be a close-range damage dealer. The player is absolutely mind-blown. He points out the kid has wild talent with a sword. Jiun asks if he watched his old matches, but the boss admits he literally slept through them. Seaman Yeop quickly corrects himself, but Jiun argues his reaction speed and agility are total garbage. Seaman Yeop says that is just because he hides in the back spamming skills. Jiun fires back, defending the support role as totally legit. The boss gets annoyed, asking if the kid thinks he knows better. Jiun squeaks out a no. Then the owner drops facts. He absolutely despises support since 9 out of 10 just hide and do zero fighting. Now pay attention here because this is wild. He says it is like fighting shorthanded, but holding up one finger, he admits 1 in 10 actually earns the role. Those rare players have at least 2 extra skills and can totally carry from a distance. He calls him out, does he only have the basic protection skill? Jiun nods. Smiling like a maniac, Som Yeop promises him a brand new weapon. Jiun totally misses the point, asking if he will be a sword-wielding support. Annoyed, the boss grabs him, yelling he will be a frontline damage dealer with a support skill. The kid immediately apologizes. Salman Yap demands to know why he is so obsessed with playing support. Is he just terrified of throwing hands on the front lines? Then he actually gives him some tough love. With that weak mindset, he will never go pro. He has to follow orders to make it big. Ji-yoon asks if this insane plan will really work, and Yop says yes if he grinds hard enough. But when asked what happens if he refuses, the boss goes cold, you get cut immediately. He lays out the options: rot on the bench of a trash-tier team or flip the script and change his life. He holds out his hand. Namong Ji-yoon takes the deal. He boldly declares he will be a close-range attacker and shakes Seomin Yeop's hand to seal it. Post-meeting, the coach rolls up, asking if the interviews are wrapped. Xiaomi Yeop just tells him to hire a brand new coach who specializes in swords. Cho Dong-jun gets confused, saying the kid is a support. But the boss shuts that down. Nope, he is a frontline damage dealer now. He also orders him to teach Lee Naeon how to sprint properly. Dong-jun seriously doubts this will work, but before leaving the room, Yop demands a massive stamina boost for the main squad, since their cardio is absolute trash compared to the GT Knights. The coach waves goodbye, wishing him a safe trip. You and I know a rebranding is coming. Outside, Samya stops, staring at the building sign, trying to brainstorm a sick new team name. Next day, totally different spot. Seaman Yeop is resting his head in his hand. Baek Jae walks up. Joking about him looking super deep in thought, Yeop tells him to back off. Pointing at the blank TV, Joe asks if Hanjang Industry is stressing him out. He points out their roster only has 14 players, shouldn't they recruit? Seaman Yeop suddenly jumps up, totally jump-scaring his buddy who keeps pushing the recruitment idea. Baek Jojo asks where he is going. Samup just mutters the word recruit. Walking to the window, he agrees it is definitely hiring time. Peeking outside, he smirks. He has a bunch of free loudspeakers right there. A whole crowd of guys is huddled outside, just gossiping away. Samun slides the door open, yelling for Dong-jun still on his phone. He announces they are about to recruit fresh talent. He asks what the holdup is, and the coach admits they are broke. Simon Yeop calls him cheap, promising to buy expensive modules for the newbies. Dong-jun is stunned. Why the huge reaction? The coach explains one module costs around 200 million won. The boss just rolls his eyes at this budget squad. He brushes it off like spare change, making Cho Dong-jun apologize. Leaning on the railing, he demands the recruitment ad goes live immediately. Then he literally jumps off the balcony, shouting to keep the ad up for 3 days. Landing, he hears Dong-jun freaking out about the tight deadline. The coach swears they need a month, but Yop locks in on 3 days. He has a master plan. Outside, the guys are sipping coffee. The wooden gate swings open. Saman Yop greets the crowd, totally calling them out as reporters. They swarm him, begging for an interview and asking if he is playing again. He promises to spill everything, but only if they do him a solid favor first. One reporter asks what he needs. Yapi shrugs, nothing crazy. He just announces a 3-day open tryout for his team and tells the press to hype it up to get maximum applications. Later on the phone, Dong-jun hypes up the crazy non-stop application flood. Cruising on his motorcycle, Samup guesses they hit a few thousand already. The coach laughs, nope, just 70. High-level espers are actually super rare. Trust me, you will love this. Yeop orders them printed so he can hand-pick the squad. Dong-jun slams the whole stack of applications right down. Seomin Yeop says he will skim through and pick some favorites to interview. You see, after awakening, all these espers have to pass a strict physical exam at the association. Let's dive into this wild tryout, where Seomin Yo is literally groaning at everyone's weak stats. Annoyed by the pathetic numbers, he compares them to his own scores and angrily crumples the papers. Basic stats don't show hidden skills, so he digs back into the pile. Then, boom, one application totally grabs his attention. Enter Jo Sunung-ho, a 22-year-old delivery guy. His physical stats are barely 1.5 times better than a regular Olympic athlete. But his real trick, teleporting objects and sharing vision. Smiling, Seomin Yeop realizes they actually found a totally wild wildcard. Cut to interview day at Hanjang Industry. The very first guy comes in hyped, acting like the ultimate fanboy for Mr. Sman Yeop. Yeop checks Kim Jinho's resume, seeing high school experience. The dude casually admits he completely dropped the game right after graduation. Did he want to make a comeback? Nope. The guy literally just wanted an autograph. Annoyed, Samup points to the door and tells him to bounce. The dude acts confused, so he tells him to scram again. But the guy fires back, threatening to leak how he treats his fans online. Smash, a cell phone flies and smacks his head hard. Sman Yeop literally dares him to tell the internet his new boss is totally insane. While the guy begs on the floor, Yeop calmly calls the next person. Out in the waiting room, everyone hears the crash and absolutely freaks out. Next up is Mr. Jo Sunung-ho. Gulping down his nerves, he walks in and gives a super stiff formal introduction. The coach is baffled, asking how a guy with such garbage stats even passed the screening. Why is he here? But Som Yap just grins. Watch closely, this is where it gets good. Using scanning eyes, he confirms Jo Sunung-ho actually possesses 3 special abilities: object transfer, vision transfer, and aura transfer. Aura transfer is insanely rare and a tactical goldmine, since it was totally missing from his paper resume. Seom Yeop realizes the candidate unlocked it totally by accident. He tells the coach this guy is Lee Nan's exact age. Smiling, he calls it destiny. He calls out to Jo Song-ho, who snaps to attention. Yap asks about his actual combat experience, and the kid admits he just delivered packages. Why apply when your stats are rock bottom? Sun-ho admits he knows his current skills seem completely useless, but reveals he has wanted to be a pro player since childhood. He basically used his trash stats as an excuse to avoid trying. Eventually, he decided to shoot his shot and make fun memories. He applied completely seriously. Si Yeop then asks about his long-distance object teleportation range. Jo Sun-ho says his max range is 2.5 kilometers. He explains that to teleport stuff blindly, he has to lock onto an aura first. Sun-ho looks bummed it isn't automatic, but Yop reassures him, reminding him that dungeon layouts naturally limit where enemies can hide anyway. Yeop realizes this skill is broken for scouting. It is way better than he thought. He jokes to the coach that every master thief needs an assistant, leaving the coach completely clueless. Seaman Yeop confirms his name and drops the bomb he is in. Jo Sun-ho freaks out, thanking him and asking if he's totally serious. Seaman Yeop confidently declares he will be the absolute perfect partner for Lee Naeun, surprising the coach. I know what you're thinking, this duo is gonna be wild. He stands up, proclaiming they'll be main stars bringing crazy matches. Then, everyone is invited to eat, drink, and absolutely party. Everyone clinks glasses, getting super hyped. Seaman Yap proudly watches the good vibes when a player walks right up to say hello. The guy introduces himself as Hanjong Industry Captain, No Young-won. Seaman Yeop scans his stats, remembering him from the last match. He's a basic tank with 0 special skills, but totally qualified to play. And the captain practically bows, thanking him for the cash injection. Young-won promises they will grind hard, but the new owner chills him out, saying he doesn't expect overnight miracles anyway. The captain bows deeply, truly grateful. Seaman Yap just watches him, considering him the absolutely perfect and diligent captain. He spots Lee Nan laughing with the crew. With a quick wave, he calls her and Jo Sunung-ho over. She is pumped, confirming they already met, and flexing that they're the same-age dream duo. Ye says they should bond fast because they are about to be literal partners in crime. He explains every thief needs a shadow informant, leaving them totally lost. Seom Yap then reveals Sun-ho will be working from the shadows. Leaving it at that, he promises the juicy details later and tells them to go party. Watching the squad, he realizes they finally have a bare minimum team. He turns to face everyone. Looking at the building, Seaman Yeop says they need a new name. Cho Dongjun quickly grabs the player's attention. Then Seaman Yeop steps up, grinning as he drops their epic new team name. Fast forward 3 months, and the squad is gearing up for a match. The announcer hypes up YSM, the rebranded Hanjong team, calling this a massive turning point. The Jumbotron flashes YSM's epic face-off. And the caster points out the main roster hasn't even changed under Sman Yap. Meanwhile, backstage, Sman Yap tells the squad to stick to the plan, giving special attention to Sun-ho. Jo Sun-ho looks nervous, but gets reassured it is all just for show. Trust me, you and I are gonna love this. Seaman Yeop declares it is payback time, ordering them to show off 3 months of hellish training. The YSM and Incheon BC match kicks off. A woman thanks Seom Yeop for the invite, noting she hasn't been to an arena lately. She explains she used to cheer for Han but stopped going. He then totally calls her out, asking if she even watched Ju's games. She says he told her to wait until the national squad got better. Yeop figures she hasn't seen him play, ranting about the national team being complete trash. Let's dive right in. The woman asks if his team hits differently. He smirks, telling us we are in for a total treat. Looking super confident, he guarantees a wild game. The announcer then hypes up the first set, Welcome to Wizard's Canyon. Always a gorgeous map. Commentators point out the land and sea layout is going to seriously test the YSM squad's adaptability. Flashback 3 months. The coach clocked Lee Nian running 100 meters in 3.01 seconds. The owner says her sprinting talent is insane. Seaman Yeop notes Jo Sun-ho leveled up his speed too, but Nian, pure diamond in the rough. He spotted her crazy potential just from her muscle build. The coach praises his sharp eye, but Yeop interrupts instantly. He says to watch the players tackle the dungeons. Just fixing Nian's running form will give her a massive buff for the upcoming real matches. Fast forward 40 days into boot camp. During practice, one salty player whines that Lee Nian totally stole his monster kill again. He complains about catching her at that crazy speed, while she dodges effortlessly. Jumping up high, our girl realizes she totally ditched them. Yeop watches, hyped about her better passive play, then checks on Team B. One guy admits their hunting speed dropped by half, totally dizzy from her jukes. The owner gives Nian massive props for her sick moves. She says thanks and promises to hustle, but behind that bright smile, she is actually stressing out hardcore. She doubts a benchwarmer from a trash Tier 2 squad can turn pro just by training hard. Nian is really struggling to believe it. Can she actually pull this off and crush it out there? Suddenly, someone yells her name, snapping her to reality. She turns around quickly. No Jong Hyun notes she spaced out and asks if she has the jitters. She denies it, but he says there is no shame in first-game nerves. The captain admits he straight up puked from anxiety during his debut. He tells her it is totally okay to feel anxious. But never doubt her own skills. Smiling, he hypes her up. The hero leader believes she is going to be the absolute best thief. Nian nods, totally fired up. Jong Hyun declares they rep the legendary Seaman Yeop, so they better deliver a god-tier legacy performance today. Watch closely. The squad shouts their battle cry. Commentators see YSM splitting up. Is this the wild 4-4-3 strategy? He sees 3 guys zooming across the map ignoring monsters, definitely setting up a trap. The trio dashes at lightning speed. Hitting a cliff, the YSM crew stops. Nian says hold up, since their floating island is moving. Jo Sun-ho grabs a random rock, calling it perfect. Then, boom, he pops his object transfer skill. A slick portal rips open. Turns out, Sun-ho uses his skill to play scout, locking right onto enemy targets and locations. The scout view zooms out, exposing the rivals. He spots Park Jong-huk, Cho Yonggil, Jung-yeon, and Lim Jiuk. Sun-ho warns Nian about 4 enemies above, and she nods. Edging the cliff, Lee Nian straight up launches herself at the floating rock. She lands, backflips, then sprints like crazy. Suddenly, she hits the brakes. A monster just ambushed the enemy. She finally spots the rivals fighting dragons and calls it out. Nian jumps right into the chaotic clash. Our archer draws back, knowing nobody can dodge this. The enemy squad pushes forward in a tight formation. A dude cheers about wiping almost everyone, yelling to stay frosty. But bam! An arrow nails the dragon, shocking them all. Lee Nian celebrates her epic snipe. The rivals whine about stolen points, but the captain barks at them to focus. He orders Jiuk to crush Nian. The guy rushes in hot, throwing an attack, but she backsteps like a ninja. You saw that right. His tackle leaves a massive crater. He looks around confused, and Nian casually says she is right there. She fires another shot, zooming across the battlefield. Jiuk gets salty, figuring if she jumps, he just aims at her landing spot. He preps a strike as she leaps, but our archer midair dodges, completely disrespecting his aim and baiting him. She taunts his sluggish speed, tilting him completely. Commentators note Nian is trolling the enemies, and absolutely nobody can touch her right now. But the announcer mentions low ammo, and she notices an empty quiver. Meanwhile, across the map, Sun-ho hears her shout for backup. Boom, Nian's quiver magically refills using his teleport skill. The commentator loses it, calling this trap tactic absolute genius. They add that Sun-ho turned into the MVP in just 3 months with this broken skill. Then, our boy pulls a blanket off himself, revealing a massive book named Chronicles of Seaman Yeop, chilling surrounded by arrows. Sun-ho casually reads, telling Nian to holler when she is dry. The commentator is dumbfounded, screaming that he is literally reading comics mid-match. Flashback weeks ago, during a scrim, some guy screams to catch her because she already ninja-looted 6 of their kills. Neon hops around salty enemies whining about her insane speed. Cho watches, joking she was born to troll and will never stop. He adds the real bottleneck is Sunho, who always takes way too long finding a safe camping spot. Starving Neon of arrows, the big brain fix, have Namong Jun play bodyguard, using his defense buffs to keep our camper totally safe. Sunho squats by his arrow stash. He grabs a quiver to reload. Trust me, you will want to see what happens next. Stick with me, things are getting wild. The two guys watch the match from afar. One asks if the kid will keep doing that, and Cho Dong-jun admits he can't go anywhere alone. Cho Dong-jun's buddy asks if ditching him like that isn't a bit messed up. But then he realizes, hey, looking like a total clown is way better than looking pathetic. Right in the middle of the chaos, Jo Sunung-ho is literally just chilling, reading a comic book. Suddenly, a stray arrow almost takes his head off. But Namong Jiun dives right in front of the beast. He throws up a massive barrier, completely blocking the hit to protect Jo Sunung-ho, who's still on the floor. While his teammate fights for his life, Sunung-ho just keeps reading. Up in the stands, a guy is completely losing his mind, wondering how they are losing to these clowns. Out of nowhere, Lee Naeun yells that she's out of ammo. So Sunho just grabs the air and literally materializes a full quiver in his hand. Meanwhile, Xiaoman Yap is just cracking up. The woman next to him asks if this whole circus was his idea. He just says it's hilarious, totally flexing his insane eye for scouting top-tier talent. But when she begs him to help her husband, he's like, been there, done that. Xiaoman Yap explains he told the guy to use Choi Haeuk as a tank, but the stubborn jerk completely ignored him. She admits she's clueless about her husband's job, but knows those two seriously bump heads. Yap just drops a truth bomb. A real coach has to know when to use pure force to fix things. Back in the arena, the enemy spots Sunung-ho slacking off. 2 Incheon players rush the field, putting Lee Naeun in a super sketchy spot. A huge opponent charges her, screaming for a capture. But Sunho stays chill, telling her to just dodge the hit and use that exact opening to run. Lee Naeun is totally on board. Sunung-ho checks if she can actually pull it off. She gives him a yes, leaping away while 2 enemies sprint like crazy to keep her in sight. An attack violently misses Lee Naeun, but she stays focused. In a flash, she remembers Xiaoman Yap's promise that she was destined to become the absolute best. Watch closely, this is where she snaps. Fired up to honor Xiaoman Yap's legacy, she gets completely locked in. Her entire team is playing for his name, and she is totally ready to wreck them. The girl blasts off, dodging attacks with pure agility. Boom, Lee Naeun spams clones of herself to totally scramble their brains. The enemy team is absolutely raging about her speed, desperately trying to track her. But she's just a blur, sprinting at top speed across the entire battlefield. A whole squad takes to the sky to hunt her down, but with a crazy mid-air flip, she dodges a dive bomb attack. She sticks a perfect landing on a high ledge, planning her next move. Lee Naeun glances back, realizing they took the bait. The enemy's close and fast, screaming to take her out right now before the score gap gets totally out of hand. One guy confidently yells that it's game over as she hits a dead end at a cliff. He basically tells her she's toast, completely boxed in by his whole squad. The enemy leader smirks, telling her to check behind her. She peeks over the edge, casually pointing out it's a massive drop. The guy brags that even she couldn't survive a jump like that, especially with the rocks breaking apart. But Lee Naeun just flashes a wicked smile and totally agrees. Then she starts fake crying, screaming that she's trapped with nowhere to go. The enemy is super confused. She literally asks them to let her escape while they just stand there looking completely lost. Out of nowhere, a massive earthquake hits. The enemies panic, but Lee Naeun just laughs. Turns out her squad is scaling the cliff directly behind her back. She hits them with a sassy wink, declaring the real fight starts now. As her squad lands all around her, she tells the bad guys they are officially out of luck. Xiaoman Yap grins like a proud dad, while his buddy drops his jaw at the YSM team dropping from the floating island. The announcers hype up the new YSM facing off against Incheon BC, who blew their hunting chance. A YSM member lands a brutal strike, and the commentators basically scream that Incheon BC is entirely cooked. Wham! Another guy gets instantly dropped by a perfect hit. The rest of the Incheon squad tries to jump in, but spoiler alert, they are way too late. You saw that too, right? 9-0. The dead last team just crushed the first set. The commentators officially introduced Lee Na-yeon and Jo Sun-ho as the most insanely overpowered new duo. The whole stadium loses their minds, chanting their names. You can totally see Lee Na-yeon getting super emotional from the insane hype. Later on, she calls out to Seomin Yap, who's still chilling with his buddy. He smirks, basically asking her if he didn't predict this exact crazy outcome. Pointing right at her, Yap doubles down on his promise to make her a superstar, flashing a big thumbs up. Down in the arena, Lee Na-yeon just smiles and shrugs, while Sun-ho stands there looking clueless. It's officially a wrap. YSM takes set 1. The Incheon guys are totally shook, shaking in their boots, but YSM, they're standing tall, oozing pure confidence. Set 2 kicks off, and the duo just spams the exact same trapping strategy. Incheon BC gets completely steamrolled before they can even blink. YSM keeps up the heat, taking the match 2-0 with a massive score gap. Obviously, Lee Na-yeon snags the MVP title and hits the crowd with a huge thank you. She shouts out Seomin Yap for the win, and the internet absolutely explodes. Her interview goes super viral, with tons of articles hyping up their fresh new play style. Even the comment section shows love to Jo Sun-ho, the sneaky genius pulling strings from the back. This match blasted both rookies straight into absolute stardom. But it also put Seomin Yap back in the spotlight for cooking up that strategy. The guy's god-tier eye for finding hidden gems is officially legendary again. A few days later, a guy practically begs to know if Yap really scouted Lee Na-yeon and Sun-ho all by himself. Lounging on a couch, Yap just nods, asking why he'd ever lie. He totally flexes his divine scouting skills, so the guy wonders if the duo could actually crush it on the national level. The guy warns him to convince Choi Hae-yuk first, but Yap grins, he's already got him hooked. The guy explains Choi Hae-yuk wants to play for Korea, but his team is blocking it hard. Plus, he drops the bomb that the national coaches absolutely hate Yap. They think he's just a washed-up outsider. Yap sits up, daring those haters to talk trash to his face. His buddy laughs, saying they'd be way too terrified of getting punched. Switching gears, he suddenly asks how much Choi Hae-yuk is worth. Yap just echoes the question, super eager to know the guy's exact price tag. Sports news goes crazy over YSM's 5th win in a row, hyping the duo and the legendary Yap effect. So what do you and I take away here? 5 straight wins is absolute history. A fan screams at his phone, while a player actually cries tears of joy. Trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for the next match. Seomin Yop asks about their best winning streak ever. The guy awkwardly admits they never even managed to win 3 games in a row. Stick with me here because this team is about to pop off. He mentions Lee Na-yeon is trending everywhere, proving Yop totally called her potential. But Yop shoots that down real quick. Pointing out the player stats, he's like, no celebrating just yet. He drops facts. Jo Seung-ho is the absolute core of their entire strategy, and the whole league knows it now. The guy hesitates, guessing they just need to protect Seung-ho better. Yop just smirks, telling him he isn't totally useless and casually asks for some water. The poor guy just freezes up for a second, totally confusing Yop. Patting his shoulder, Yop asks if he'll keep this exact same hype once the real training results finally kick in. Cho Dong-jun completely backs himself up. Yop loves the confidence, ordering him to start racking up those wins before the first half of the season wraps up. Then he drops the massive goal, a straight 50% win rate. Dong-jun looks totally shell-shocked, but instantly yells out that yeah, he can absolutely pull it off. Chilling at the table, No Young-wan chimes in. A 50% win rate, completely literally impossible for the old roster, he throws in that. Yop seriously has everything calculated out perfectly. Yop looks at Dong-jun, says he believes in him. Young-wan suddenly flashes back to going pro thanks to that Hanjang Industries sponsorship. Now it is payback time, he owes this squad everything. Yop pushes back from the table, laughing that he can't just keep roasting Dong-jun forever. Then he straight up climbs onto a chair, demanding the whole room's attention. He announces a massive deal if they actually manage to hit that 50% win rate. He is dumping way more cash into the team since they finally proved their worth. The whole squad roars back in perfect sync. Yes, sir. Yop tosses up a peace sign, telling them not to walk him out, while the boys yell their goodbyes. Outside the spot, reality hits. The real problem now is drafting fresh blood. Jo Seung-ho's range maxes out at exactly 3 kilometers. If enemies shut him down, Lee Nan's big brain strats are completely useless. He desperately needs new prodigies, and like Ji-ho warned, way harsher practice sessions. He thinks it over. With the sponsor money rolling in, they've finally got the budget to pull actual talent, not just fans chasing his clout. Walking through the night, obsessing over how badly he needs Cho Huk, his phone randomly starts buzzing. Checking the screen. He gets a text from Baek Ji-ho telling him to scout the youth leagues for leftover gems. Smirking, Yeop jokes that the guy is finally being useful for once in his life. Watch closely because this is where the real grind begins. He decides post-mid-season is drafting time, telling the boys to hold out. And just like Yeop called it, YSM's massive win streak totally crashed at 6. With rival squads figuring out exactly how to counter their main duo, the boys had to rally behind their captain, No Youngwan. Together, they cooked up fresh plays that weren't just about playing defense. From dead last at 20th place, YSM actually scraped together 10 wins and 8 brutal losses. Ending the half-season sitting at 11th place, it was officially draft season. Cut to a massive crowd hyped up outside the young school battleground club, with someone loudly announcing his entrance. Coach Kim greets him at the door. Yeop casually introduces himself as YSM's owner, claiming he's got zero agenda and just wants a quick peek. The coach immediately offers a VIP tour. The coach flexes the space, and Yeop genuinely hypes up their gear. Pretty insane setup for just a random high school club. Suddenly, Yeop's eyes lock onto something. The coach asks what's up. Pointing straight at a kid zooming across the field, Yeop admits the movement is actually pretty clean. But the coach shuts it down. That kid is already locked in by the KB1 pros, Murray Phoenix. Yeop gets instantly annoyed at himself for hyping up such basic stats. Standards were slipping. He needs an absolute steal. An unsigned player rocking a 90 average with some crazy hidden skill. The Rough Diamond project is officially a go. But the coach's voice snaps him right out of it. Honestly, after watching the whole practice block, Yeop is completely underwhelmed by everyone there. I know what you're thinking, is he gonna leave empty-handed? Well, hold up. The gym doors suddenly bang open. A random kid rushes in, bowing and apologizing for being late. The coach sighs, and the kid stammers out an apology about cramming for exams. Then, the boy freezes, instantly recognizing Yeop, who is just wondering who this guy is. Yeop fires up his analysis ability to scan the kid's stats. Walking over, he asks if the boy always skips practice for books. The kid nods, nervously mumbling about college prep. Yeop gets straight to business. Any pro teams hit you up? The kid shakes his head, saying literally zero offers. Total fanboy moment, he calls it an honor to meet him, and Yeop casually offers a handshake. The kid actually flinches, bringing up that wild internet rumor about Yeop punching fans. Yeop just laughs it off, promising he is totally safe. He sticks his hand out, dropping an absolute bomb. He's shaking it because the kid is signing a contract with him. Today. The kid, Yun Bom, looks like his brain just short-circuited. Meanwhile, his hidden skill flashes on screen, Shadow Walk. A conditional power-up that buffs speed and lets him literally melt into the shadows. Yeop casually mentions that in the Korean League, a broken ability like that is easily top-tier. Yun Bom is just standing there, utterly confused. Dead set on stealing him before the competition wakes up, Yeop offers him a spot on YSM. But Yun Bom is suspicious. How could this pro possibly know enough to offer a deal? Yeop totally bluffs, claiming he caught his matches on TV. The kid fires back that he literally rode the bench the entire season. Yeop just flashes a knowing smirk, pivoting hard. He hits him with the truth. He came here exactly because he couldn't figure out why a beast like him was benched. To Yeop. This kid was hoarding insane hidden potential that the coaches totally missed. Still, Yun Bom stubbornly denies it. He is convinced it's a huge mistake, calling himself completely weak with a trash-tier ability. Sure, Yeop is a legend, but he begs to know what part of him screams pro talent, without missing a beat. Yeop points right at his chest. It's the ability, obviously. He breaks it down. Sure, Yun Bom's skill looks super limited, relying on shadows for a basic 20% speed buff. The kid just sighs, agreeing his power is a complete joke, but Yeop steps in to clarify. Yeop explains the golden rule: powers literally evolve based on your personality. This shadow trick, it perfectly matched his hardcore introversion. Plus, a tailored shadow skill like this could become stupidly overpowered if he actually trained right. He guarantees he can already see the ability's crazy evolution path, leaving Yun Bom absolutely floored. So, Yop throws down the offer, sign with a squad for 2 years, see how it goes. Stay for 3 more, if he bails, you and I gotta see what happens next. Stick with me here. Yun Bom is absolutely floored by a 300 million payout. He tries calling his mom, but Som Yop drags him straight to the garage. The guy slaps the motorcycle seat and tells the kid to hop on. They blast down the street, while Yun Bong begs him to wait just 1 second. They finally sign a deal guaranteeing 300 million if he leaves after 2 years. Holding the paper, Somup admits it's a pretty solid start. Meanwhile, Yun Bom's parents stand in the background, totally shell-shocked. Somup hops back on his bike, super hyped about bagging a player at school number 1. Now he's wondering what kind of crazy Esper he'll find next. But when he rolls up to the second spot, every single student is already taken. No sweat, he just turns around and bails, totally sure he'll strike gold at the next high school. Lots of places left, right. Wrong, our guy checks out school after school and gets totally shut down every time. The hustle continues, but it's a massive fail. 0 players left on the board. Super annoyed, Xiaoman Yap realizes he's completely out of options. This is literally his final stop. Making a final push at Jingyan High School, Si Yap sits down with a kid who just straight up apologizes. He says he has 0 plans to go pro. Smiling completely chill, Cho Young says he just wants to hit the battlefield for fun. Checking out his stats, an older guy warns him that this kid gets scouted constantly. But despite his solid numbers, he refuses to play professionally. Curious, Som Yop asks what his parents think. Cho Young admits they absolutely hate it. They can't figure out why he wants to stay broke. But this kid literally doesn't care what anyone thinks. Meanwhile, our recruiter realizes this is an actual psychological defect. Hand on his heart, the kid drops a bombshell. He wants to be an author who gives people hope and dreams. Now pay attention, because this is where the hustle gets real. Som Yeop recognizes this classic artist defect, quietly repeating the words hope and dreams. Then he drops his real name, Siamanup, the literal hero who brought hope and dreams to a broken world 17 years ago. Striking while the iron's hot, he tells the kid to write his epic biography. From street orphan to dungeon survival legend, the kid is absolutely hooked, turning this guy's crazy life into a hardcore dark fantasy novel. Yes please, as a final push. Som Yot promises exclusive details about the final dungeon, stuff he's never told anyone, but there's a catch. The kid has to join his team right now. Cho Young jumps up screaming that he'll sign. Siamaman Yap locks him down with a 160 million deposit and a 55 million salary. Way pricier than Yoonbyeon's deal, but our guy is banking heavily on his observation skills to level up this kid's game. Deal done, Young Min steps up with a question. Som Yap totally chills out, says to use his first name and asks what's up. No hesitation, the kid asks how he literally has 0 weaknesses. Young Min admits he's never seen an absolute beast like him. He watched the French national team in Korea. They were amazing, but nobody touched Shaman Yeop's level. Hearing this, the hero just shrugs. Obviously, there's nobody else like him. Plus, he reminds the kid that he hates killing humans, which the charity match totally proved. Question answered. Sioman Yeop sends the kid packing, letting him know the coach will call him soon. As the kid leaves, our guy grabs his phone for the main event. He calls Bike Joe, who immediately asks about new recruits. Seaman Yeop admits the top tiers were completely gone. But he still managed to snatch up 2 decent players. Plus, if he can somehow secure Cho Huck, he'll hit 18 players. That's why he's running behind schedule. He hangs up, promising to swing by and talk face to face. Smirking, Siamaman Yeop asks the phone where else he'd be. Boom, he pulls up to Sangsung Spirit's headquarters to confront a coach who hates his guts. Security tries to block the entrance, but our guy coldly reminds them that the Blue House tried that exact same nonsense. You know how that ended. Flashback to him, literally attacking the Blue House to demand a presidential meeting. Terrified, the guards beg for permission to just radio their boss. He chills and waits, strolling through the insane facility. Everything here screams ridiculous new money. He actually pauses just to stare at this insanely modern, massive building. Casually, he admits this club is loaded. Their gear absolutely embarrasses his own team's setup, back at his home base deep in the Gangwando Mountains. The only thing to do is hike. Suddenly, someone yells for club owner Som Yap. He turns around to see Kim Jintai standing right there. The head of Sangsung Spirits rushed out immediately. Seoman asks if this big boss actually handles scouting and trades, getting a very quick yes. He points out that Coach Choi Dong-jun usually does that stuff. Jint nervously laughs, praising how multi-talented he is. Not funny, Seoman Yeop snaps at him, saying don't even joke about that right now. Kim Jint stiffens up, totally sweating next to this walking time bomb. Cautiously, he brings up the coach, and yep, it's completely about a huge player transfer. Everyone in the Korean scene knows Seomup demanded a position switch for Cho Huk, but that stubborn coach completely rejected it. Sweating bullets over a potential brawl, Jint begs to handle the trade right there in the hallway, but still. Seaman Yeop refuses. He wants the coach face to face so he doesn't have to repeat himself, walking down that long hallway. Jint mentally panics. Trust me, you'll love what's next. Seoman Yeop just walks in, announcing himself as YSM's boss. Let's dive into this wild manhwa together. Munyeop extends his hand to talk business with Cho Moonong, coach of the spirits, but the coach shakes it with a crazy trembling grip. Sweat is literally pouring down his face, totally confusing Munyeop. Suddenly, a sharp ring hits his ear. The coach panics even harder when Munyeop asks if they have actually met before. Stepping right up, he points out the guy's face looks super familiar. Then, some young player butts in, asking if Munyeop knows the coach, making him wonder who this kid is. The kid introduces himself as Yam Jae-hyuk, the team captain. He explains the coach literally dragged him over right in the middle of their practice. The coach awkwardly tries to cover his tracks, claiming the captain absolutely needs to stay in the loop about all the player business. But Munyeop, he couldn't care less. He ignores the excuse and locks his eyes straight back on the coach. That intense stare is super creepy, and the coach finally cracks, asking why he's glaring like that. Not backing down, Munyeop pushes harder, demanding to know if they've truly never met. Wiping his sweaty forehead, the coach denies everything, saying he must be mixed up since he meets tons of people. Still, Munyeop stands his ground, absolutely positive they've met somewhere. This makes the guy desperately try to change the topic to the big negotiation about Choi Hyuk. Just hearing that name makes the poor coach physically flinch. Catching that reaction, Munyeop says they can't talk business yet. He needs to dig through his memory banks first, leaving the coach in an absolute panic. He squints, trying hard to remember, while the coach literally begs him to let the past go. Pure desperation. The dude insists he shouldn't stress over it, but Munyeop knows their past was definitely not some casual run-in. Boom, his eyes light up as it all clicks. He just straight up asks if it was in the dungeons. The coach is absolutely stunned. Munyeop smiles, he never, ever forgets the guys who pissed him off during raids. He drops the exact time and place. The Temple of the Vengeful Spirit, 1993. He's calling him out, straight to his face. He even wonders out loud why he let the guy live, since he totally planned to finish him off after the raid. Panicking. The coach cries that he even grew a mustache just to hide his identity. Now watch closely with me, because we're flashing back to 1993 at Seoul Station, where 200 raiders gathered for a massive run. An 18-year-old Munyeop is warning everyone about hidden traps and crazy monster swarms. But suddenly, some random voice cuts him right off, telling him to hold up. A guy in the crowd says they should just use their massive numbers, rush in, and crush the boss immediately. It's Cho Moonong, who was 24 back then. He claims Munyeop's hype is totally fake and offers to lead instead. He talks big, saying clearing a few dungeons is nothing compared to actual strategy. Super annoyed, Munyeop calls him an idiot, but Jinti holds him back, telling him to just drop it for now. Jinti begs him to chill and finish the briefing so they can actually start the raid. Munyeop backs off, but shoots Moonong a dark look, promising they'll chat later. Moonong just laughs it off, saying he won't take orders from some teenager. He's acting super cocky, bragging about his skills, right as a massive stone golem suddenly attacks. Throwing up his shield, Munyeop orders the tanks to rotate. This lets the main squad pick off enemies one at a time. Charging straight into the chaos, he screams at everyone to keep moving forward. Slashing his sword, Chun Sung complains, asking how they'll ever finish the run at this slow pace. He loudly declares there's zero reason to listen to a brat like Munyeop. Stepping right onto a weird stone slab, he brags that after this raid, he'll rule the world. You and I both know what just happened, right? Yep. He freezes, realizing he just triggered a floor plate. Suddenly, that warning about hidden traps echoes in his head. A split second later, massive boulders start crashing down from the ceiling right over him. He's totally stuck, unable to dodge in time. Until someone aggressively yanks his collar back. The boulders smash violently into the floor where he was just standing, kicking up dust and completely blocking the entire passageway. A scout yells that the backup route will take 6 whole hours to clear. Meanwhile, Munyeop silently creeps up behind a now absolutely terrified Cho Moonang. Out of nowhere, he grabs the guy's collar, whispering a deadly promise to see him outside. Moonang vividly remembers getting beaten half to death after that raid ended. And just thinking about it makes his bones hurt. Back in the present, he tries to play dumb, but Munyeop cuts him off, demanding a little private chat. Voice shaking like crazy, the coach stammers, asking what he's going to do. But Munyeop just smiles, telling him there's absolutely nothing to fear. Munyeop laughs, asking if he seriously thinks he'd hold a grudge for something from decades ago. He bluntly orders the other 2 guys out so they can talk in private, unless the coach actually wants an audience. The intense vibe makes the coach sweat with pure frustration. After a long pause, he tells Jae Hyuk to escort the chief out, saying he needs to handle this guest. Finally alone, Munyeop calls him out as the idiot who ignored orders over some garbage theory. The coach remembers how his big ego ended up adding 9 miserable hours to that raid, trying to apologize. He admits his mistake, claiming he was just young and dumb back then. But Munyeop mercilessly fires back, he was literally 6 years younger than him. Moonang desperately defends himself, crying that he already got beaten to a pulp when that raid ended. Munyeop kind of nods, agreeing it would be lame to punch him over 30-year-old drama. But then he smiles, he can absolutely beat him for what he just did today. The coach is totally mind-blown, having zero clue what he did wrong recently. Snapping his fingers, Munyeop says that even if they forget his ancient mistakes, he just made a fresh mistake, and that means school is back in session. He steps closer, jokingly promising to go easy since he's dealing with an old man. Sweating bullets, the coach begs to know what he messed up. Munyeop flips it, asking if he seriously doesn't realize the damage of blocking Choi Hyuk's roster position change. On top of that, he calls him out for knowing perfectly well that Baek Yeho was eavesdropping on them, which just made his dirty move even more shameless. Dropping the tough guy act, Munyeop pulls out his phone, deciding to play exactly the same dirty game. So what do you and I take from this? Never test Munyeop. Smiling, he threatens to leak the whole scandal to the press, instantly making the coach panic. Alright, stick with me, we are about to watch a wild negotiation. The coach threatens a lawsuit but Som Yeop just laughs. He doesn't sue, he destroys. Desperate, the coach begs for answers. The answer? Dead simple. Sumin Yup demands he hand over Cho Hyuk immediately. He brutally reminds the guy that the player only has 1 year left on his contract, which means in 6 months, they lose him for 0 transfer fee. He completely calls out the coach, blaming him right to his face for ruining a talented athlete's prime years just because of stupid pride and personal grudges. Hearing this brutal truth drop, the coach finally breaks. He grumbles that he can easily find other melee players to replace Kai Hyuk anyway. But wait, he still sets one condition, setting the transfer fee at a whopping 1.2 billion. Som Yeop just smiles, calmly repeating that 1.2 billion price tag. He casually looks around the fancy facilities and asks how they could rob a supposedly poor club owner like him. He totally leans in, whispering that this greedy attitude makes him want to punch him all over again. But hey, drop the price, and he'll consider it the cost of keeping his life intact. Hearing his actual life put on a price tag, the coach absolutely freezes. Panic sets in. He suddenly remembers Som Yeop never bluffs. If this guy wants you gone, you are permanently off the map. Sweating, the coach counters with 1 billion. But Som Yeop just smirks. Is his life only worth 200 million? Terrified, the coach instantly drops it to 800 million. Still too cheap. Som Yeop doesn't even blink, staring him down until the terrified coach drops it to 500 million. Cold as ice, he asks if his life is really that cheap. Total meltdown mode. The coach literally screams, caving in at a crazy 100 million. They shake on it. The coach nervously begs for 0 hard feelings after this intense shakedown, flashing a winner's smile. Som Yeop agrees, totally playing it cool with Coach Choi Moon. The coach nervously accepts, praying the nightmare is over. Inside his head, he's calling this guy an absolute demonic monster. Here's the part you and I need to watch carefully. This coach has no clue Sum Yeop is ridiculously vengeful. A few days later at YSM headquarters, Sum Yeop greets the new guy. Cho Huk stands there with a suitcase, grinning proudly. Sum Yeop officially welcomes him to the squad. Choi Hae-uk is locked in 600 million a year for 5 solid years. Boom. And thanks to coach Choi Dongjun's sneaky backup negotiations, they only paid the Sangsung Spirits a measly 50 million for the transfer. Absolute steal. The paperwork is finally signed and done. Lounging on the couch, Sum Yeop sighs heavily, even after snagging 3 new rookies. He is stuck at 18 players, still 4 short of the 22 spots he needs. A girl walks in complaining about the blazing heat, and he instantly says, "Hey." She strolls up, calling him Uncle Yeop. She points out he has been grinding way too hard lately since he's basically been a ghost, laughing it off. He fires back that she's the one always busy. She casually mentions Seongi was pretty mad about him never being home, right then and there. Som Yeop spots the book she's holding and asks what is up with it. It is a beginner's French textbook. Naturally, he absolutely roasts her for reading it. He jokes that it is adorable she is reading children's books now, but she is not laughing at all, getting totally defensive with teary eyes. She whines about French being insanely hard, begging him to just go to France with her. Totally caught off guard, he asks what she means. Jake Rand, the EuroLeague agent, jumps in. He drops the news. Her contract gets officially inked right after a physical exam in Paris. Turns out, Baek Haein crushed the first half of the season as most valuable player. Korea's top melee dealer was making waves. The famous Morrow brothers. They had their eyes on her forever and instantly threw down an official offer. Now, with the Paris Lumiere deal locked in. I know what you're thinking, that's a huge step up. Her EuroLeague debut is happening. Sum Yeop finally gets the whole French textbook thing. He trusts Jake Rand to handle things perfectly. The agent then pivots, saying since Miss Beck is sorted, they really need to talk business. Sitting down together. Sum Yeop asks what is up. Jake Rand drops a bomb. The Morrow brothers are personally inviting him out to Paris. Completely confused, he asks why. They want him. The agent explains they need him as Baek Haein's interpreter, plus they have a special gift waiting. A gift. Now he's seriously paying attention. Flashback time. The Morrow brothers had promised him a custom-made weapon because they are basically massive fanboys of his unbelievable skills. Sum Yeop suddenly remembers that epic weapon promise. The agent insists his presence is totally worth the cost, but surprisingly, our guy turns the trip down cold. He explains he is way too busy trying to recruit more players before the season ends. He jokes his squad is basically a broke neighborhood club right now. Making Jake Rand sigh heavily at the struggle. So the slick agent pitches a genius idea, scout talent in Paris. He points out the Korean League allows up to 5 foreign players. Plus, finding a solid, budget-friendly athlete in France is actually super doable right now. Not to mention, it is a huge level up for a club owner to see how the massive French league operates behind the scenes. Pure business experience. Sum Yeop thinks it over. Foreign recruits. His lips curl into a smirk. He points right at the agent. Honestly, that does not sound bad at all. Cut straight to Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. Strolling through the busy terminal. Sum Yeop rolls his suitcase, taking in the crazy crowd. Baek Haein mentions it has been forever since her last Paris trip, wishing JJO could have tagged along too. He casually reminds her Jay is grinding hard in training. He suggests they just focus on finding her a decent apartment instead. Bam! A massive mob of reporters suddenly swarms them, screaming Som Yeop's name. Super annoyed, he mutters that journalists are absolute pests everywhere you go. Right through the crazy flashing lights, a guy in a sharp blue suit waves. Som Yeop instantly spots him, knowing exactly who set up this ridiculous mob. So what do we take away from all this? Always expect the unexpected. Som Yeop asks why the owner showed up personally, and the guy admits he directly oversees players. Alright, stick with me here. They think all this hype is perfect for a rookie like Haein. So the guy jumps on the chance, suggesting an interview for his niece. Facing the blinding cameras, Seomin Yeop is actually smiling. He admits he is hyped. It is his first real vacation ever, completely totally dungeon-free for once. He makes one thing super clear. Sure, he got an offer, but he is strictly here to cheer on his niece. Zero plans to sign any contracts right now. A reporter suddenly asks if he is meeting up with Eric Thorum, one of the legendary 7 heroes, while in France. Yop suddenly remembers something Beak. Jiho told him. Thorum apparently married a genius and vanished into a chill countryside life. So, Yop casually replies he won't be in town long enough. But he is totally down to meet if the guy visits Paris. Cut to somewhere else. A guy watching this exact interview literally does a spit take. Yep, Eric Thorum. The legendary hero himself dumps his coffee when Jake Rand calls out. He is completely stunned seeing Siaman Yop chilling in France. No hesitation. Eric completely launches himself off their boat. Jake Rand is screaming his name from the deck, but dude is already splashing into the ocean. He yells back about a massive emergency in France. Fishing is cancelled. And that is when Jake finally realizes they are literally in the middle of the freaking Atlantic Ocean. We jump over to the insanely fancy headquarters of the Paris Lumiere Club. Inside, the Morrow brothers are practically vibrating with excitement, greeting Siaman Yop's crew. Jumping on the hype, they push their luck. Since he flew all this way, he should definitely sign a massive contract with them. Unbothered, Yop just smirks. He tells them his niece will handle the hard work, so take care of her. Still pushing, the brothers beg him to take their physical test, bragging about their super accurate gear. It is chaos. They spam him asking for autographs, random exhibition deals, and even pitch a whole reality film crew to stalk his vacation. Trying to stop the madness, Yop tells them to chill out. But bam, they interrupt him. Everything is already set up. A woman in full combat gear steps up, ready to roll. Inside the evaluation room, Yop translates a quick question from the crazy brothers. Beak Haeyin gives a thumbs up, totally relaxed and ready. Now watch this because things get wild. The test starts and monsters spawn right inside the arena. The rules, simple, destroy absolutely everything that moves. Yop relays the catch. She only has exactly 1 minute. No hesitation at all. Haeyin blasts forward at insane speed, rushing straight into the swarm. Those dark monsters swarm the center, trying to block her path. Right before her next strike, her eyes glow with crazy intensity. Slice, a lightning-fast, flawless combo completely wipes out every single monster in her way. Test cleared in 22 seconds flat. She casually smiles, calling it fun. Curious, she asks for her score. Yop gives her huge props, noticing her massive power-up. She grins, admitting she has been grinding her training non-stop. One Morrow brother is completely blown away by her moves, throwing a job offer right then and there. Her wild score totally shattered every expectation they had. Being 24, her stats show she is still leveling up as an Esper. With elite trainers here, she can push her strength, stamina, and skills to the absolute max. Sure, her special ability and aura need some polish, but her raw talent alone, already enough to make her a total star player here. Snagging a top-tier athlete like her for just 4 million euros is an absolute steal. Suddenly, a voice calls out for Mr. Siaman Yop, making him spin around. Beak Haeyin instantly recognizes this new guy, while the girl next to her whispers about his looks. Yop squints from across the room. Yop realizes exactly who it is, a top 3 player on the entire battlefield. He remembers the old days, fighting raiders with off-the-chart speed. But finding someone that agile in their prime, super rare. And Nathan Bernard, a top 3 legend at this club, was exactly that fast. You and I never expected this crossover, right? Yop is shocked. The guy turns, fully revealing himself as the superstar Nathan Bernard. Quick history check. Back in 2005, Yop and the 7 heroes cleared the final dungeon. War over. Lots of exhausted fighters just retired. Welcome to the new era. The battlefield turned into massive global entertainment, making everyone wonder who would actually dominate this brand new game. This wild setup turned regular Espers into absolute megastars. But honestly, there was one specific name that fans literally never stopped hyping up. The ultimate ace of the French team and Paris Lumiere, he bagged Player of the Year for 3 straight seasons. Yeah, that is Nathan Bernard. 2 guys ask why he is hanging around on his day off. He simply says he came to see Mr. Siaman. Yop watches the guy approach, smirking confidently. Nathan turns and casually greets his brand new teammate. A girl chilling in a chair waves back, then awkwardly whispers to her friend, asking what he even said. Her friend is just as clueless. Walking right up, Nathan gives a respectful bow and introduces himself to Siaman Yop. Yop just stands there, totally silent, sizing him up. Boom, Nathan suddenly lunges forward, arms wide open. Pure instinct kicks in, and Yop braces for a heavy attack. But nope, Nathan just traps him in a massive bear hug. Our legend totally stiffens up, freezing from this weirdly aggressive affection. A second later, Nathan steps back, happily welcoming him to Paris. Yope admits he already knows him from watching his crazy match highlights. Hearing praise from his absolute childhood hero, Nathan is practically glowing, totally flustered. A glowing screen pops up showing Nathan's insane stats and special abilities. Yope realizes something crazy. Besides stamina, every single attribute maxes out at 90 points. His alter ego skill lets him literally split into two, burning half his aura. Baek Ji-ho notes that with more training, this kid could shatter his own limits. Because his tech skills are so high, he can actually spam other abilities while cloned. Plus, his stamina is no joke. It is literally higher than most average tankers in the major leagues. Seeing this, Yope wonders how Nathan would match up against a beast like Gerald Walker. A sudden tap snaps him back. Ji-ho walks up, asking if the Walker situation is fixed. So what do you and I make of this? Yope looks totally confused, but Ji-ho reminds him he has been hyping Walker up non-stop since Korea. Let's jump right into the madness, guys. Smiling calmly, he claims he just taught Walker a lesson. Nathan watches, totally lost. Seomin Yeop casually explains he just showed him who's boss. Finding out the fight was actually broadcast on TV. Yeah, he's visibly annoyed. The Moro brothers are absolutely hyped hearing Seomin Yeop actually won. Nathan steps up, asking if he could really crush Walker in a straight head-to-head fight. Cleaning his ear like he couldn't care less, the answer drops. Walker is just human. Hearing this, the Moro brothers totally get his recent massive power-up. They're seriously impressed. He leveled up a guy who might literally become his enemy later. Fists in the air, they crown him the absolute best around. Speechless for a second, he practically shields his eyes from the blinding, symbolic glare bouncing off their bald heads. Summon Yap slowly backs up while Nathan is still glitching over Walker's massive defeat. Mentally, Nathan admits even he dodges fighting Gerald Walker one-on-one. In a pro arena. An opponent has limits, but an all-out street fight with zero rules or time limits, that is a totally different story. He totally regrets thinking he'd never throw hands with Seaman Yap, considering the whole world thought the guy was dead. But now that he's breathing, Nathan is totally dead set on fighting him somehow. Meanwhile, Baek Ju warns Baek Haeun to watch out for that guy, but she shrugs. He is not her type. A woman pops up between them, super curious about her ideal type. Without hesitating, Haeun explains she prefers someone rougher and a lot braver. She casually sneaks a look at Samyun, who's quietly watching from far away. The woman fires back that dudes like that always attract serious trouble. But Haeun claps back that those are exactly the wild cards who achieve greatness. Turning around, she makes it crystal clear she can handle her own romantic business just fine. Som Yeop just watches silently, definitely thinking it over. A bit later, Han tells Uncle Yeop she is hitting the shops with her mom, giving a quick wave goodbye. She promises to buy him a couple of cool things. Nathan volunteers to escort them as their bodyguard, and Som Yeop thankfully agrees. He waves them off, right before a Moro brother asks if they should head over to the weapons workshop. The other chimes in, saying they have something special for him. Totally intrigued, Seaman Yeop simply nods and tells them to lead the way. Now pay attention here. Inside the workshop, they watch a guy hammering glowing metal. The blacksmith proudly holds up his smoking hot masterpiece. A Moro brother shows off an entire room absolutely packed with weapons, proudly flexing that every single piece was forged right here. Seaman Yeop takes a good look at a case full of swords. Grabbing one, he totally praises its insane build quality. Saying he's used countless weapons in his life, super hyped by the compliment, the brothers beam with pride. They explain this workshop took a massive cash investment, but hey, now they craft some of the absolute best combat gear on the planet. Throwing arms up, they celebrate turning a rough spot into a huge win. Then comes the drop. Thanks to that, they prepared a totally special gift just for Seaman Yap. One guy hits a panel button. Boom, a secret compartment slides open right in the wall. Inside, several insane spears resting on a rack, literally stamped with Seaman Yap's name. A brother hands him a weapon, telling him to take it for a spin. Gripping the handle, he asks how it even extends, seeing literally zero buttons or gears. The blacksmith tells him to just pump his raw aura straight into it. Following orders, Seaman Yeop tightens his grip on the metal. Whoosh, it expands into a massive, full-length spear. A brother brags that sure, the old ones were cool, but these are forged from some serious next-level high-tech materials. They admit the durability takes a slight hit, but honestly, it doesn't even matter, since these bad boys can literally be duplicated mid-fight on the battlefield. Samomen Yeop shrinks it back down, pointing out that without any real dungeons left, he'd basically never use this thing outside of official arenas. Realizing how crazy portable it is, the brothers totally assure him that if he takes decent care of it, this thing has zero limits. Super intrigued, he asks if they really built all this just for him. Amuro brother nods, but straight up clarifies that it's definitely not some one-of-a-kind exclusive gear. Let that sink in for a second. If the legendary Som Yeop uses it, replicas will sell like crazy. He's absolutely speechless. They drop the bomb. It's actually a sponsorship deal, which instantly gets on his nerves. Throwing up a hand, one guy explains they've already crunched the crazy numbers. The deal, $1.5 million a year for 5 whole years, plus an insane €3 million bonus every single match he uses it. Saman Yeop literally tilts his head, listening as they ask what he thinks of the offer. Spear in hand, he locks it in. Hero Seaman Yeop might say no, but club owner Saman Yeop simply cannot reject that giant bag of cash. Samoman Yeop signs it as a brother asks if he read the fine print. They remind him of a specific catch requiring him to actually keep the weapon, making him wonder why he'd ever toss it away. The brother then casually asks if he's an active battlefield player. And he says nope. Saman Yeop knows only registered players can lug around a spur weapons, but claims he has VIP immunity. Still, they break the bad news. That spear isn't getting past airport customs. He instantly shoots out of his chair, claiming he is not going to force anything to avoid causing drama for Beck J and Mr. Gent. Right then, the twins hit an exaggerated pose, announcing they have a simple fix. Leaning in, they smirk. If he can't travel because he's not a registered player, just become one. Soon after, Beghean and Mom return, cheerfully waving their brand new gifts. Samoman Yeop is completely frozen, jaw literally on the floor. Heian spots him in a chair, asking what's wrong. Flashback to hours ago. The brothers explained becoming a player meant officially registering with his home country's association. They kept going, explaining that since registration is totally handled by the International Association, his actual home country doesn't matter at all. Their big brain suggestion: just register right here in France. You saw that coming, right? Skipping customs easily, Seaman Yeop instantly realizes this whole trap was planned from the start. Stick with me here, you and I are jumping right into the chaos. The brothers strike their goofy signature pose while he just glares, totally unamused, as they circle him. They preach about letting things flow, even when everyone knows their sneaky hidden intentions. They swear registering has zero downsides, just more match options. To prove their superfan status, they flex buying his charity car. But then they drop a bomb. They bought the personal diary he ditched after 4 days. Absolutely furious, he demands an employee immediately. Back in the present, he complains to Han about officially being a registered player. She totally ignores the whining, hyping up his pro sponsorship. Seoman Yap snaps back that nobody can force him to play. Right on cue, the Morrow brothers crash the room, begging him to sign with Paris Lumiere. Annoyed, he steps up, making them scramble. Heian chimes in, begging him to join her squad to team up, just like he did with her dad. Seoman stays quiet, thinking how those legendary old days feel like they just happened. Then Heian suddenly brings up his brand new weapon. Nathan walks in right then. Our guy confirms the bald dude sent the gear, and the kid instantly challenges him to test it out. Nathan explains the team still grinds twice a week. He invites him to practice, swearing it will be a total blast. Now watch closely. Seeing that crazy competitive spirit on full display, our guy finally smiles. Boom, he fist bumps Nathan's chest, accepting the challenge. Next day at Paris Lumiere, the boys are absolutely buzzing. They hype up vacation plans while asking about a missing teammate. Annoyed by their lazy vibe, Heian clenches her fists. Seoman tells her to chill out, teasing that she's the only tryhard here. He jokes she's exactly like her old man. Her dad got so rattled he passed out in 10 minutes. 2 players holding hands watch them arrive. Another guy turns around. Boom, whispers explode across the room as everyone recognizes the legend himself. They cannot believe management actually bagged him. Eric Thuram watches silently. Heian spots the stares aimed at her uncle and tries playing it cool. A massive dude steps up to Xiaoman. He introduces himself as Kai Kai Lucas, the main tank. He talks himself up while Xiaoman asks what he wants. Totally unbothered, Xiaoman asks if there's a point to this. Grinning, Kai Kai just begs for an autograph on his jacket. Hooking him up, he signs a quick message, then points out his niece standing nearby. Kai Kai says he's pumped to train with her. Xiaoman watches the tank strut off, proudly flashing that signature on his chest. A screen pops up with Kai Kai's crazy stats. Xiaoman realizes that while Nathan is the ace, this massive tank is straight up irreplaceable. I know what you're thinking, but wait. With his crazy speed, he might actually surpass the team's star player. That green blessing skill is what really hooks Xiaoman's attention. As he watches the tank leave, Nathan jogs over asking about the chat. He drops some lore. This beast of a player actually runs a massive charity focused entirely on saving forests. That skill's origin instantly clicks for Xiaoman. Nathan praises his buddy's good vibes, unable to hide his own insane hype. He admits he's losing his mind, seeing his biggest dream become reality. Looking Xiaoman dead in the eye, he swears he will defeat him. Flashback time. A tiny Nathan stares up at the world-saving hero statue, locking him in as the ultimate boss to surpass. Then the mood tanks. He remembers the memorial after Xiaoman died in that final dungeon, crushing his dream of ever facing him. Snapping back to reality, they lock eyes. Xiaoman smirks that humans love dreaming. Nathan fires back that while he breathes. He'll never stop pushing, and today he's dropping his absolute max power. Xiaoman just smiles. Enter the Moro brothers, striking another cringe pose. Right after, Dubois Gouffini steps up, head coach of Paris Lumiere. Facing the hyped-up squad, he asks about splitting into teams. Usually, it's a clean split between their two heavy hitters. Kai Kai and Nathan. But with a living legend in the house, it's Team Xiaoman versus Team Nathan. Xiaoman asks how they'll balance the roles. The coach grins, saying there's a highly advanced method for picking practice squads. With a smirk, he reveals it's rock, paper, scissors. Xiaoman drafts Kai Kai and a few others to his side. Nathan grabs the rest. Trust me, you want to see this.